Hi, good evening. Welcome. This is the second of our two October meeting for the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is 6:49 on Tuesday, October 21st. I'm calling this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Recording these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of this agenda. And we have a lot going on tonight, so I'll try to cut to the chase. But before we do anything else, let's do our customary introductions. Going on my screen, we'll start off with Mr. Bauer.
Hi, I'm Dick Bauer. I'm an attorney and I was trained as a city planner and I live in the Spring Hill neighborhood.
Thank you. We have Vice Chair Kelly.
Hi, I'm Robin Kelly. I am the Realtor member of the commission and historic homeowner in Union Square.
Thanks. And we have Mr. Shagnon.
Shagnon, pardon. I'm a landscape architect and a resident of Ward 5.
Thank you. I'm Eric Parks, resident of Ward 3, historic homeowner and an architect. And we have a variety of people with staff. Maybe you could list Ms. White.
Sure, I'm Sarah White. I am a senior planner with the Planning, Preservation, and Zoning Division. Pass it on to Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison Anthony. I'm a planner with the Department of Planning, Preservation, and Zoning, and I'll pass it over to Lexi.
Hi, I'm Lexi Payne. I'm also a planner with PPC.
Hi, I'm Albert Spars. I'm also a planner with PPC.
And I'm Kit Lester, and I'm also a planner with PPC.
Okay. And we have some other guests who will be joining us here. Just getting back to my agenda. So the first order of business tonight is going to be some review of Community Preservation Act CPA applications. And these are, I think there are 3 scope items here, 2 of which are advisory reviews, and 1 is a vote to determine historic significance for funding purposes. And we'll just go in the order on the agenda here, which is the first is 59 Cross Street. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we're gonna have a little mini presentation from each one of these.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe that Roberta Cameron, who is the CPA manager, is here, and we have limited the applicants to like 2 minutes if they have anything to say. Otherwise, the advice has been given to you as to what they're looking for, and they are also available for questions. Ms. Cameron, can you speak to that?
Yes, thank you very much. So 3 items that we've brought this evening are the Somerville Museum and the Elizabeth Peabody House located at 277 Broadway, and the Somerville Hispanic Association for Community Development located at 59 Cross Street. And the first project, the Somerville Museum, is seeking a determination of historical significance for some artifacts that they are looking to request CPA funding to preserve. And so this actually requires a vote from the Historic Preservation Commission to determine their significance to Somerville's history. And the other 2 projects are seeking an advisory review from the HPC, which is to give advice to the applicants about what the standards are that the project will need to meet for historic preservation purposes so that they can plan their application and their budget accordingly so that the projects will ultimately meet HPC's requirements when they come for permitting down the road.
Thanks, Roberta. And Mr. Chairman, through you, now I can't remember who you called first. Was it the Grace Baptist Church or was it the Elizabeth Peabody House? But
Grace
either way,
Baptist.
I beg your pardon?
Grace Baptist.
Grace Baptist. Okay, great. But just for the members of the audience who are attending, these are advisory reviews that the HPC is required to do for Community Preservation Act applications that involve historic preservation grant funds. These are not public hearings, but if there are members of the public who do have comments to make, then they're certainly welcome to attend the Community Preservation Commission meetings that will be occurring a little bit later on this this fall. But in the meantime, sit back, relax, and enjoy the brief description of what each of these projects is about.
Thank you. Um,
This is Madison speaking. Will the applicant for 59 Cross Street please raise their hand and I can go ahead and promote you? Right, I am promoting as Sean Willett.
Hi, folks. Can you hear
Yep.
me?
Hi there, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I have assured Roberta that I will be brief and concise, and I will hold myself to that. My
Oh,
name is
we'll
Sean
hold you
Willett.
to it. Don't worry.
You'll
You
hold
got
me
2
to it.
minutes,
That's right.
man.
Good. I appreciate it. My name is Sean Willett. I'm a preservation architect, and I've had the privilege of working with Shaw for CD over the last about year and a half as I took over kind of the management of several different projects that they've had, several different grants that they've had on the restoration of their historic church. Originally, the historic Perkins Street Baptist Church, built in 1900. They've been highly privileged to be recipients of several prior CPA grants. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with the story at 59 Cross Street. Cumulatively, these grants funded the restoration of the building envelope from slate roofing, wood windows, brick masonry, and structural improvements. And most recently, they undertook a very highly complex multi-grant effort combining CPA and ARPA funds to make the building fully accessible to all, not least of which includes a full-service 3-stop elevator. I'm very pleased to report that that project, which there's a lot of buzz about, is approaching completion. We anticipate the funds to be appropriately expended by the end of this calendar year. That's a big win because we've been pushing this for years and it's been extremely complex. But with that accessibility project nearly complete, building stewards, Shaw for CD, they're turning their attention back towards the envelope for one more push to support the newly revitalized interior accessible spaces. I don't want to list through all the scope of work because I know you folks have taken a look at the application and the drawings. It's very straightforward, no curveballs here, but I do want to note one comment that the protective canopy that's referenced in it was actually approved previously by the HPC with a certificate of appropriateness in 2023, renewed in 2025. Still going to work with folks to ensure that we're very satisfied with what would go up there, but I want to note that that isn't something out of the blue. It's something that we had in prior applications, got certificates of appropriateness, and we're looking to fund it with this one. And the last thing I want to say before I ask for any questions, which I'm very eager to receive, is that it's important for me to make very clear that this proposed CPC grant and the work on this building is highly focused on a particular, very achievable scope of work. It's not another extension to the current grants. It's not going to be part of another kind of snowballed series of grants for a much larger project. We did very well with that. We're looking to make a very highly focused, targeted project here. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions about the work that we're looking to do. Is my audio good?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
thank
no,
you.
Okay,
you're
good.
good.
Just making sure.
I sort of I'm reading through your report.
Appreciate it.
If I could, I might have misspoke to the commission before we came online. So yes, it looks like you all did approve a steel and glass canopy over the accessible basement entrance in 2023, and that was renewed in 2025.
Sounds familiar.
So if you have any additional advice or words of caution or anything of that nature for the applicant, please go right ahead. And if you don't, that's fine too.
I do not. They've done so much good work over the years that this upcoming phase of things seems well in hand and well considered. So I have no questions or comments.
Thank you.
And I just want to say I've been watching this since the very beginning, and I too have been impressed by the ideas and the quality of the work. And it's wonderful to see it moving along.
Thank you. They do a lot of good work, and it's important to support this kind of work.
I don't really have anything to add. You guys have gone way more in depth. You're going to put new storms in the ones that are missing storms?
That's right.
Not
There's
changing.
already a series of storm windows, allied historically sensitive storm windows on several wood windows, and there's a handful of others that couldn't get funded in prior rounds. So we'd like to restore the windows behind the storms that haven't been restored, and restore and add storm windows to the ones that haven't been addressed.
Okay.
Kind of even everything up and bring all the windows to the same level.
What happens with the arch top windows that seem to be boarded up right now, the arches too?
In the tower or at the front gable?
In the tower, I'm seeing three.
The intent is to restore those large windows. There are
Okay.
they've been boarded up because the glass is broken, animals get in. But the louvers up at the very top will remain louvers. They just need to be netted to keep out the critters.
I should add, as an offhand, my great grandparents were married in this church back beginning of time.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Was it the Perkins Street Baptist then, or did they marry?
It was the Perkins Street.
Wonderful.
Their grandfather was a deacon of it in the old location before it moved here.
No kidding. No kidding. I bought some commemorative plates off eBay from the 50s when they were doing a fundraiser for the interior, because that's the only place I could get a historic photo from. Nobody had them, so I literally bought the commemorative plates. So if I meet up with you sometime, I'll show you one of them because I got an extra. It's very nice.
I have a box of old like programs and concerts.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a digression, but
I did not know that
nothing
before.
No,
Eric.
that's what it's all. This is what it's all about. It's very relevant. It's part of our story.
Yeah, it's great to see. Speaking to the sea, well, this has been a good use of funds. I think it's serving a lot of communities.
It is.
But as for the actual substance of your application, I think this is great. I don't have any comments. Anything that could really.
I think I'm the only one who hasn't spoken up on it, and I would agree with everything that's been said. It's been impressive so far. This looks like a great proposal, and yeah. No, nothing to add.
I appreciate everything, everyone.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, guys. If there are no other further questions, I'll take a step back. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, everyone.
This bad habit of hiding my agenda. Okay. The next advisory, actually, this is the vote. This is the Somerville Museum for the collection conservation. We could have them step up and introduce their project.
This is Madison speaking. If you're here for the Somerville Museum, please raise your hand. Great, I am promoting Barbara Magnum.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could, this one requires just a vote of whether or not the objects in the museum's collection that are proposed for restoration and preservation are historically significant for CPA, historic preservation grant funding purposes. You have the really blow by blow of everything that needs to be done to each of these items, from the gilt frames to the paintings themselves to the chest on chest to the other furniture items. So if Barbara, if you have like a couple of quick, limited 2 minutes things to add to that, please do. And for the commission, obviously feel free to ask questions and give whatever advice you'd like.
Well, since you have the material already, I wasn't really going to repeat that also because it's very limited time. But I will say, you know, the pieces basically are the Mary M. Russell painting. She was a child in the 1840s, and she's part of the Russell family. And there's Rebecca Adams, who was the daughter of Anna Adams, who's this colonial icon, woman who did a lot of nursing of different soldiers up on Prospect Hill after the Battle of Bunker Hill. So that family has a lot of history here in Somerville, and she was very closely tied in with the Tufts um, and others, the Adams. We also have the frames. We've asked for the Russell family. We actually have 3 portraits out of 4. One unfortunately was stolen years and years ago, and we wish it were back. But the others are, and really, 2 of them are in pretty good shape. I think we could go ahead and exhibit them. But the third one, this one of Mary, needs to be conserved before it can be shown. And then all 4, we're only asking for 3 of the frames to be conserved, but we have all 4. But the 3 are in just tough shape. And so again, in order to exhibit the paintings within their original frames, we're asking for that. We're also asking for Columbus Tyler. We did have him conserved and his inner frame conserved last year, but we fortunately found the outer frame. So we just want to go ahead and conserve that, so that we can put it back and the piece will look as it did originally. We have a GAR chair with a textile that's very, very fragile. I don't think there's any question. It's probably around 1866. Sam Walter Foss's tufted Turkish chair, which is just a great item. And the Derby Desk Company desk that the museum has, which is a typewriter style desk. It is lacking the Derby Desk Company logo that would have been on the roll top, but otherwise, is very, very much like what we would expect of a Derby desk. And then finally, the Stone family chest on chest. And I believe that sums up everything, except again, there's more frames with every painting. We're trying to get the frames done as well, because that way we can exhibit them together. Any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, who has any questions or comments on this?
I have a question about the provenance of the Derby desk. How did that come to the museum?
So we don't always know how these things came. Things were donated. We just don't know. I mean,
Okay.
so in some cases, like with the, we're very fortunate to have the will of one of the Edmonds, who's actually a descendant of the Stone family, Lucy Edmonds. And she, in her will, gave us the chest on chest, which
Yep.
we only have the chest part. But there are many, many objects in the collection that we do not know in terms of provenance. We know that it's been there since at least the 1980s, because at that time it was in a review of condition of objects in the museum. But other than that, we don't know.
That was the one item that I questioned because it's not a unique item. It doesn't have a clear provenance attaching it to a specific person or something like that. I just wonder why the museum would choose to restore this item rather than finding one that is more intact. Just doing a very quick Google search, I found one it's in England, but with the delivery fees here, it would be less than the cost of the proposed restorations, which would then also allow the existing desk to be sold to offset additional costs. So just wondering why restore this specific one when another example could be found in the marketplace.
It really is a matter of cost. If we could, we would go ahead and buy one that had the Derby Desk logo intact. That would be ideal, but they are very expensive. The costs have gone up significantly. And the cost of the one that we have, the amount that we could get for it is probably pretty low, because the ones that are shown that are pretty low, like I mean, I've been on, believe me, I've looked everywhere to see if we couldn't get one, for a reasonable price. Someone got one for $100, but then you have to spend 10,000 to restore it. So
Right. So the one that I found, and I can certainly send you the link, but it's $9,500, inclusive of taxes, and then shipping would be, about $1,100 or $1,200. And so, and
right.
it looks to be in quite good condition. But so, I'm sure with greater research, someone might be able to find something. So just curious about that approach.
That
Right.
really is it. It's just that the museum doesn't really have a development department per se, and so raising that money is hard. And if we could, we've always had other priorities in terms of making sure that the building we pay the insurance and operations and everything else because we don't have any other income than what we raise for operations. But you're perfectly right. If we had that money, we would do that.
So am I correct then in inferring that you're going for a grant for it because grant money is theoretically available for restoration? And
Yes, that is right.
through at least through the CPA, it wouldn't be available to simply go out and purchase something because that wouldn't be
That
an
is
act
right.
of
Can't do that.
preservation.
Right.
Makes sense.
Well, sort of.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But
it makes sense why
like
it's the strategy
we have
you're
one in the
pursuing.
hand,
Right.
so to conserve the one that we have
Yeah.
versus to go out and buy one. But if we had the money and everything else were equal, I would go buy the one that has the Derby desk, company lock plate.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess to take a little step back, we are only here to determine essentially if a Derby desk is worthy of being significant, whether it be one that you acquire or that you already
Well,
own.
specifically this Derby desk,
This
right?
one,
Yeah.
that's
the merits of it, yeah. And then the CPC would be the ones that would say is it, yeah,
that's right.
Oh. okay. Thanks, Robin.
I mean, I think I would agree with Vice Chair Kelly that none of the other stuff seems like there's any question. They all feel like they have a strong need for preservation, but also strong historic significance, connection to Somerville, etc. Are we quite confident that this is in fact a Derby desk and not a knockoff? That
Oh, it's definitely not a knockoff.
okay.
It is but in terms of, I've been learning more about Derby desks and also about the desks, this particular kind of office furniture that was around in the 1900s. It
Mhm.
really started, like in the late 1880s, and then it went, I think the Derby Desk Company folded in like 1930s. The Derby Desk Company, of course, is here in Somerville. That's the big connection. It's now, Rogers Phone Company. And the building is still there. The Derby Desk sign is still on the side of it. So in many ways, this desk is very, very close to what is printed and available to learn about Derby desks. But like I say, without that lock plate, I can't say 100%.
Sure.
And there was one other company, there were many other companies producing these. They weren't producing the same exact kind, but there are a lot of other companies that were producing because there was a general demand then for this office furniture that was highly efficient.
Yeah. My
So
father had one similar to this while I was growing up. I
the
don't think
Derby desk.
I don't think it was an authentic Derby desk, but it was that style, the roll top wooden slats.
Yeah, right.
The letters.
Well, so I just put it to you all because this is certainly a very genuine, 1900s desk. It has all the high quality of the manufacturing of a Derby desk. It has all of the locking capability and other kinds of things. Many little cubbies and little holes. There's even two little secret kind of drawers. So it has a lot of things about it, and people find it very fascinating when they come to the museum. It's kind of a piece that people enjoy. And so, you know, it's a teaching piece, if nothing else. But again, I say to you all, you know, like if we really want the you know, nail on the head, then it would be great to help fundraise for it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on the proposal to consider the items in the collection as described by Barbara here as significant?
I would just say that even if it is not Derby, it is still significant in the sense when you're looking at architecture and things like that, and you say this is representative of a particular style. And it is a very authentic piece. It's from that era.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, and Barbara, I hear you on that. I think that one of the things that you look for when it comes to historic significance is clear, if not, like if it's a Derby desk and like built in and created in Somerville at the desk company, then that's one thing. Fit without the actual like, well, it's a term I'm looking for. I've had a hard time like remembering terms and names tonight, but the plaque or like the sign, yes, exactly, that says Derby desk, like the mark on it. And if you don't know how it came into the museum's collection, meaning from whom it came, then I think you need to balance those things out. Are you comfortable saying that it's historically significant because of its associated with Somerville history without knowing 100% that it's a Derby desk, but possibly that it is? Or are you and we don't know, what the provenance is. It's like, I'm not sure that from a architectural standpoint, like if it were a building, we could discuss and use architectural standpoints as historic significance, but I'm not sure that that would necessarily apply to a desk, though. I mean, I understand your point.
I
think-
of course I'm not I would love to debate that because I do feel that the museum has many, many objects. Most objects do not have provenance. And that is true in museums throughout,
Absolutely.
And you still don't throw the baby out, because you don't know
Sure.
exactly where it came from.
Exactly.
There are also, we don't know that provenance, but we do know that this is the type of object that would have been used. It has an entire history around it. That history is very consistent with the history of the Derby Desk Company. So that it is again a useful piece in terms of talking about it. But there are other objects as well, like I think of the paintings, for instance, that are done by itinerant painters, but we don't know exactly who the subject is, but we do know it's here in the museum. It came to the museum. Someone thought it was important enough to give to us that we go forth thinking that it's historically significant, because if we don't, we really need to deaccession it. So, we don't have space to keep things that are not going to be shown.
So thinking about this, the one particular piece that seems to be under debate, the desk. I'm looking over the guidelines, the historic guidelines that we're supposed to consider regarding significance of artifacts and so forth. And, does it embody distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of creation? Yeah, clearly. Is that method of, that's one of the criteria under historic scope. That also ties it in, because of Derby Desk, with the industrial and heritage of the city and economic heritage, which I think is pretty important. It's clearly, whether it's Derby or not, well made and a pretty good example. I mean, I think to me at least, it fits enough of the historic scope that whether or not it actually is Derby, it's the desk that the Somerville Museum has to be able to talk about that facet of Somerville's history, which to me feels at least like it rises to the level of significance that's needed for our support here. I mean, that's sort of my take on it. I think it has enough of the integrity, if it's restored, to convey all of that and become that focal point of discussion. And I think that without it, that's a piece that's missing from the museum's ability to talk about that until they somehow find $10,000 or $11,000 to buy one in better shape and get it shipped over. And if the end result is one more good condition derby desk in the world, that's not too bad. But I don't know how the rest of the commission feels on that one.
I think I feel essentially the same, at least for our task of determining historical significance.
Right.
That is, if Barbara came in and said, we know about this desk and it was made by a furniture maker in New York City, we would say, good. Our job is to decide whether it's historic, and we think that it is. Whether the CPC then wants to fund it may depend on their judgment about the connection with Somerville. But I think it doesn't seem to me, for our purposes, that we have to worry about that.
Thank you.
So I would take a different stance on that. So if, for example, someone came to us and they had a Ming vase, certainly it's historic. No one's going to question that. But, it was owned by some heiress who spent her life living in Las Vegas. And, somehow it ends up in the possession of the Somerville Museum. It has no connection to Somerville. And so even though it's historic, I don't think it's appropriate for Somerville historic funds to be spent on that. I know this is different because of the Derby connection, but I think it's important to understand, that this is a Derby. Feels strange to invest $12,000 in a desk that may or may not have been built up the street. I think that's an important thing to get right. And I understand the challenge with, where on the ledger money is coming from, and that but I have a hard time.
Can I just mention something? And that is that, the museum has a collection committee, and we have a document in terms of processing of what we will collect. So we only collect things with a Somerville connection. So if a woman were to come in with a Ming vase, we would say, well, that's very nice, but go try over here. Maybe they're interested. We also do a lot of connecting with, other organizations. For instance, we just found that we have some wallpaper from John Hancock's house, which is really extraordinary. It's actually very colorful and interesting. And, now we're trying to give that to New England, the historic New England people, because it doesn't belong with us. Yeah. So we would only keep this because it has a connection to Somerville, and that connection is through the Derby Desk Company. And this piece does represent the Derby Desk type enough that you can make that connection very easily. But I understand what you're saying, but I just want you to know that we don't collect everything, please.
No. And I do understand that. I just think, in a world where Derby desks do exist, it's not that, once upon a time there were Derby desks, they are no more, but this is representative of what that was. I can, make 3 clicks and purchase a Derby desk right now. Yeah, and so understanding that the funding is the challenge.
There
but
is a difference, though. I just want to mention one other
Yeah.
thing, and that is that this is a desk that does not appear to have been altered very much since it was made in the 1900s. Those
Mhm.
other desks that you're talking about, those have been refinished. Those are really different desks than when they were originally made. And people go in, they buy them, and then they refinish them because they can sell them for a lot of money. But
Mhm.
that is not what we do. We conserve the original material. So that's why it's going to a furniture conservator, and it's why honestly it costs so much. Because every part of it is getting taken apart, glued back together. It's exactly original. The pieces that go in that are missing, like the roll top desk, will be a replica, but it's
Yeah.
clearly marked as a replica. Everything that is non-original is clearly marked as non-original. So I just want you to know that there's a big difference between that and these other ones that you're seeing. Even if I would have to fly to England to look at that piece to be sure that that was the kind of thing that we actually really wanted to have here before accepting it, just so you know, because you
Yeah.
really want something that is still original. It contains that
Yes.
original quality to it. Not something, it's got to have a story. If it doesn't have a story, it's not really for us.
Well, thank you all. I think it's an interesting discussion on that. I would probably I just sever the practicality of it and whether the money is well spent or not from the fact that I think that this does reference it's either literally from the Derby company or it's a style that the Derby company seems to have basically created or got the ball rolling on, and therefore it has some local significance for that realm. And as to whether it's money well spent or not, I think that's something the Community Preservation Commission will deal with. But I think on its own right, I would be okay with deeming this a significant just because it references a industry in Somerville, either directly or as a copy in a
So-
similar time period.
Mr. Chairman, or possibly staff, as a matter of procedure, are we required to vote on these 8 different objects individually, or can we lump, the 7 of them that nobody seems to have any reservations about at all into one, and then take a vote separately on the Derby desk?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, through you, thank you, Mr. Shagnon. You said exactly what I was just going to mute myself to offer up, which is for the ones that clearly that I believe everyone is in more agreement on, I would group them together. You might want to just double check, Mr. Chairman, if people are in agreement on those, lump them together, take a vote and then a roll call vote, and then the one where there are differing opinions, I would take that up as a separate item and hold a
Okay.
vote that way.
Does anybody have any reservations with any of the other items listed on this proposal?
No.
If not, then I would, I guess, entertain a motion that we deem everything with the exception of the Derby desk. We're going to separate that from this, just give people a chance to vote separately. And a motion to deem everything on the proposal except for the Derby desk to be significant.
I second
So-
that.
For CPA historic
For
preservation
CPA
funding purposes.
funding purposes, right? Okay. So that's a motion that someone needs to make, I guess, unless I just made it.
So moved,
Okay,
and then Mr. Bauer can second.
Yeah, I second.
okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And let's do the roll call with Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And then we'll take a separate motion as to whether or not the Derby/Derby-ish desk is significant for the purpose of CPA funding.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Vice Chair Kelly. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do a roll call, starting with Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Okay.
And obviously being the representative on the CPC, I'll have another bite at the apple here, I guess.
Well, you'll just have a
I'm sorry.
different bite. You'll have the funding bite.
Different funding, yeah, right.
Well, thank you
Um,
all very much.
Good
You
to see you,
too. Thanks.
Barbara.
Okay. And if I could, I just want to just note for the record that I regard that vote as a vote on whether it's historically significant and not a vote on whether the CPC should be financing it.
Agreed.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, Mr. Bauer, to your point, you can't take a vote on whether or not you
That's
think
right.
the CPC should be funding it.
That's right. That's right. They
Correct.
will make those decisions. I just wanted to have our recognition of that fact is reflected in the vote.
Okay. And the third,
Say goodbye.
oh yes, sorry,
Thank you again.
Thank you.
welcome, thanks.
See if I can get myself out of here.
Now you're stuck. The third and final of our Community Preservation Act applications is the Elizabeth Peabody House. This is an advisory review again, for which we're not making a vote. Are they here tonight?
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Matthew, it looks like Coffee and Sam Dennis are here. And while they're coming up online, Mr. Chairman, this request, if you look at your sheet, there's there was an attachment sent as well. This is for stabilizing the second floor in particular, so that it can be used for its intended purposes. This is internal work. And Madison, Sam Dennis is also here, I believe, with the
This is Madison speaking. I promoted him, but he declined the promotion.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Well,
So you 2 minutes.
perfect. I don't think I'll need 2 minutes, folks, but I'll welcome any questions, obviously. So my name is Matthew Cahy. I think you may have seen my face at other meetings, but if not, I'm the executive director of the Elizabeth Peabody House. We've worked through several different projects through the CPC. And so this time around, we're asking for funds to help us stabilize the second floor and bring it up to its original intended use, so assembly load capacity, so we can start to actually provide some community benefit from that space in the years ahead. What should I share about it? It's really a simple project. It's just bringing it's just joists and cistern and all the stuff in the floor, and then strengthening the roof so that it is able to deal with more long-term the stress of like the snow loads and different things, and so that's really it. I will share the one thing, and I'll share it again tomorrow night for any of the folks that may be on that call, that this is the first step for us and really isn't really transforming what is the centerpiece of the building, which the former sanctuary of the space. And so once we can get that done, the goal is to turn that into a multi-function space, fully accessible bathrooms, kitchen space, meeting rooms. And so there's a really long-term vision, but we can't do any of that work or even think about it until we do this work.
Thank you.
On that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Sure. If you all had a chance to, I took a glance through the proposal. It's fairly cut and dry in a sense. I mean, it's structural. It's not like I'm going to suggest a different aesthetic of 2x10 or whatever you sister things with. But yeah, it sounds to me like obviously that there's a significance to the structure and the significance to allowing it to continue to function the way it is. So can't think of any reason that we would not agree with the goal of this project. I don't know, anything I'm missing, folks?
I don't have any questions, and I certainly don't have any advice on this phase.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't either. As I'm an architect, and I still would defer to the structural engineer what they say to do on this. I wouldn't even venture to second guess anything. So go with it.
All right.
And we don't need a vote, so that's the sum of our feedback, which is pretty much have fun.
Go with God.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you made this easy for me, folks. Thank you.
Too. Thanks.
Thanks, Matthew. Well, that's
And-
it.
Yeah, is that it, Roberta?
That's it.
Yes, if I may, through the chair, I would love to add one last piece of information for the benefit of people in the audience who may be interested in attending the Community Preservation Committee meeting where these projects are going to be presented to the Community Preservation Committee and questions from the committee members. That meeting occurs tomorrow night. So the agenda can be found for tomorrow night's meeting of the Community Preservation Committee on the city's website.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Okay. So with that, I think we've wrapped up that part of this, and now let me just pull up our agenda again. We now have public hearings. We have 1, 2, 3 alteration hearings, one of which is a continuation, and then we have some demolition delay business.
Mr. Chairman, there's actually, oh no, I'm wrong. Never mind.
1,
Keep
2,
going.
3. So the HP 25-00000, lost track of my zeros. HP 25-000076 Highland Avenue is a case that had been previously continued to the November 4th meeting. There will be no November 4th meeting, so we need to continue it to the November 18th meeting. And does this just require a vote to continue? Is that all we need for this?
This is Madison speaking. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to do that?
I move it. I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do our roll call starting with Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Okay, and then the next case we have is HP 25-000071. Address is 36 Beacon Street. The applicant is 36 Beacon Street LLC. Dave Cameron, the owner is 36 Beacon LLC. The applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter an LHD property by constructing a rear egress. As it's advertised. Is the applicant here tonight for this case?
Yes, 1 second here. Sorry, just getting in frame. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good. I am calling from an airport, so I sincerely apologize if there's any background noise. I have tried to move heaven and earth to not be in an airport, but this is where I find myself today. Hopefully the chat will be brief.
You're not about to be on an airplane, I take it.
No, I actually just got off of one. So,
okay.
It's been a long flight, but I'm on the West Coast right now. My day job, unfortunately, I have to maintain it to pay the bills. All right, can I share my screen here quickly? Is there a function to do that?
Yes.
This is Madison speaking. You should be able to click the green share button at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
Okay. Oh, there it is. I need to make it full screen. Perfect. So can everybody see this map here?
Yep.
Yes.
So good.
Okay, wonderful. I'll talk about myself a little bit, then a quick history behind the application, and then what the proposal is. My name is Dave. I'm the owner of 36 Beacon. I lived in Central Square, just south of the Somerville border, kind of South Inman Square, and then Harvard Square for about 9 years. I acquired this property 5 years ago in 2019. And at the time we purchased it from the former owner, there was 5 or 6 code violations that were in place. One of them being the need to construct a rear egress stair out the back to replace an internal ladder, which was not deemed to be to code. And I know there's a few architects in the panel here, and I think they'd agree an internal ladder does not suffice for egress. So we have corrected all the other violations except for this one. The last one I'm hoping to check off. Initially we came to you in 2020, just after COVID, in which case we reviewed it and the committee did approve it. And then of course, COVID hit, which made leasing a little tough. and then interest rates went up, which also made it a little tough to get the funds together to get this constructed. But I'm happy to be back here now with the funds in place and and ready to proceed with getting it constructed. The only changes from the proposal today is simply the materials of the newel posts, balusters, and handrails. The decking is the same. The design is the same, minus maybe 1 or 2 inches that adjusted, and everything else is very similar. But I will give you a quick run through just to get you guys up to speed. I don't have a great memory, so I don't know if you were there 5 years ago. This is 36 Beacon. It is one of a few and a very beautiful historical set of row houses. We are, through a staff level review, going to be rebuilding the front porch as is, like kind. So it should be restored back to kind of the condition it was. So that's also going to be taking place in parallel. I need to build this rear egress stair down here near the bottom of the property lot line. This is a parking lot owned by the Cambridge, I think, Healthcare Alliance, CHA, here. And this is the lot line quite literally goes like, I think it's right down I think it's Line Street. So just south of this picture is where the municipal boundary exists. This is one view of it here. There's a lot of old vegetation, which we will not be disrupting and leaving in place. This is another one here where it would go just 2 stories right here. This is my picture. There actually is a door there from I don't know when, and it's currently screwed shut, so we don't have issues with tenants, but someone had built something there at some point. The addition on the back here, which I believe is from the 1960s, is basically horizontal vinyl. We're not updating or changing it. It's built decently, but I would not say is of the most refined construction I have ever seen. This is from Line Street, which is the Cambridge side, in the summer. This is also it in the summer, and of course in the winter. So you can get the determination on the foliage, which of course is excluded from considerations, my understanding, from visibility from public ways, but good to see. The actual stair design, is right here, and you'll see it in your staff memo as well. It is a 2-story structure, pretty standard code compliant stair construction, pretty standard basic materials. We'll be continuing the white vinyl on a little skirt on the porch. It'll be dimensional framed lumber, pressure treated, that will be painted for the initial approval. And the deck will be Trex decking, which was also part of the initial approval. Initially, we had wood posts, wood or black spindle balusters, and handrails were wood. This time around, we're coming back to change some of the elements to vinyl, largely because of maintenance concerns, availability of product, and kind of ease of construction, and just general aesthetic taste. So the request of the committee would be to allow, and it's slightly different from what's written in your staff report. I just was scanning it last night. The balusters would be either vinyl or black spindle, which was originally approved, one of the two. We're still deciding which way to go. The newel posts would be white vinyl, so that is as stated in the staff report. And the handrails, we're still figuring out if those should be vinyl or wood that is painted. But otherwise, everything should be the same as the initial staff report. I am happy to answer any questions that you have and to dig as deep as you would like into the project.
Thank you. Let's see, the next step here would be to invite the public to speak. If any member of the public would like to weigh in on this project, please raise your hand and the staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand right now.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. And see what the commission thinks. I do remember this case. I think I was part of the deliberation 5 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know who else was around at the time.
Yeah, I recall this as well. Yeah, and I'm kind of conflicted because, even though the main body of the building is historic, what this is bumping up against is the 1960s vinyl clad addition. And so I'm feeling slightly more lenient or open-minded about man-made materials for this specific placement, just because, even the most beautiful, even if it were done historically accurate, it would look strange against the 1960s vinyl clad portion. So I don't know. What do other commissioners think?
I mean, my take on it is looking again at the guidelines, right? For new additions, the goal is that it not disrupt the essential form and integrity of the property and be compatible in size, scale, material, and character of the property and its environment, and confined to the rear of the house, which it is. And if it were removed in the future, the basic form and integrity of the historic property would remain intact, which it is. So this is, from Line Street, from where it's visible from a public right of way, it doesn't, to me, vinyl doesn't feel like it would materially detract in a way that you'd notice well from that distance.
Yeah.
Given that it's not historic fabric, it's an addition. I mean, I don't think that the switch to vinyl bothers me in this case, given what it is, given where it's viewable from. I mean, if the railings are painted white, are you going to know that different from white vinyl from what, 150 feet away through a bunch of trees?
No, I mean, the
Yeah.
only instance in which I think anyone would notice would be at night, someone with car lights shining on and they get the shine off it, but that's not anything
pretty
that would be
minor.
visible to somebody on Line Street.
And plus, as you said, it's almost,
If all the trees didn't exist, which is sort of in theory at some other point in time. But are any of those trees on your property, Mr. Cameron? And you're muted.
There we go. Yes,
Sorry.
I'm trying to juggle lots of things
Yes.
here. Yes, there are 2 trees on the property.
Okay.
One of them is, I think, 12 inches in diameter or so at chest height, and the other is like 7 or 8, something like there.
Okay.
So they're I'd say like not they're not like mature oaks, that are like 2 feet thick in diameter at chest height. The neighbor
Yeah.
has 2 of those, which are very beautiful. And of course, we're going to be very carefully watching any roots that come onto our property from them as we put the sonotubes in place. But we just have 2 trees, kind of medium mature. I think one's a maple. I'm not sure what the other is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't have an issue with this request for a material change for this.
Thank you. I agree with that. I was okay with this last time based on the form and the location and all that. You have to have we can't get in the way of the ability to get out of that building, and this is about as minimally visible as you could get for the significance of this is the row house, the presentation to Beacon Street. It's by my count about 200 feet away from the closest back street. I don't think anyone would even perceive the materiality from that far away. And as Robert said, it abuts a vinyl edition that's already an appendage. So I would be okay with this as it is proposed.
Well,
there've been
So unless Mr. Bauer has something to share, then I move that we vote to approve the requested material change.
I agree with all the sentiments expressed and I second that motion.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, just before you vote, so sorry,
Yes.
because the wording on the staff report isn't quite right. So I want to make sure everyone's crystal clear.
Yes.
The right to use vinyl, let's say wood and or the black spindles on the handrails, newel posts, and balusters would be the request. So some still may end up being wood once we go through the materiality and construction.
Okay.
But the right to do vinyl, should that prove to be the path we go.
So I will amend my motion to say, move to amend the staff report to include all three materials and approve those. So I move that we vote to approve the change to the staff report and that we approve the use of vinyl in addition to wood or the black metal.
Just to be clear and confirm with staff, did the original certificate of appropriateness expire because it was never used and therefore we're granting a new certificate of appropriateness?
This is Kit, the case planner for this application. So it did expire, and if the same exact materials were proposed, it could have been a staff level reissuance, but the change of materiality is what triggered this
Sure.
application to come back to the board.
Okay, so I guess my question is, does that then require us to formally do a new certificate of appropriateness at this point, or is it just about approving the change of materials? I mean, it
This would
certainly streamlines everything if we just grant a new certificate of appropriateness, right?
someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this would be a new certificate of appropriateness that allowed for either of the three applications, three materials that you're voting on.
Okay.
So is that then the motion on the table is for a certificate of appropriateness?
It can be.
It sounds like it ought to be if that's what we're going
I
for.
think it feels to me a little cleaner if we just sort of make it a new thing
Okay.
right now, and on the off chance there was some variation between, you know, the old set, because we don't have that in front of us to compare back and forth. I'm hearing that it's the same, but yeah.
So then should we scrap I rescind the former motion and propose that we move to provide a certificate of appropriateness for the property owner to use vinyl, wood, or black metal in the construction of the railings and balustrade and handrails for the rear egress porches and stairs.
I second that.
Okay. All right, all in favor of this newly edited proposal? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll do a roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, the next case we will be hearing is HP 25-000022. Address is 46 Mount Vernon Street. Applicant is William Kwong. The owner is William Kwong. The applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter a LHD property by removing the rear mudroom, installing an awning on the rear, and replacing the vinyl windows. Is the applicant here tonight?
This is Madison speaking. I just promoted him. He should be joining. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Give us a quick rundown of what you're up to.
Thank you. I am looking to basically add more room to my house because my family's grown. And in this proposal, I am looking to demolish the kind of rear mud room with the deck on top of it, all the decks outside, to do a two-story addition in the rear of my house to serve as a bedroom and a dining room, and also to add a deck to kind of the side of my house to serve as a second means of egress for the second unit that is on the third floor. That looks like the previous owner in, I think, 2013 applied for a certificate of appropriateness for a second means of egress via a spiral staircase and enlarging the window, but never actually completed the work. And so the second unit, the top floor unit only has one means of egress. And I'm hoping to use the deck as the second means of egress for the top floor unit. And right now I'm just I'm looking for comment from everyone here on the board about what they think about the size and scope of the project, what materials I could use for the deck, and just overall comments on how on this project to kind of see what the pricing it looks like.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak about this case? Please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand right now.
Okay, thanks. We'll close the public comment portion of this case and see what the commission thinks. I'm sort of scrolling through the drawings again here, but what do you all think?
I don't know that I have a good sense about how much this will be seen from the street. Do other people have a sense of that?
I don't have a strong sense for it. I was trying to.
Yeah, I was just looking through the plans again to see there's not a front view of those stairs that look like they, they are going to come beyond the main portion of the front of the house. But it's not clear how far that is.
I can't tell the rendering on the front page of the plan set we were given sort of shows a spiral stair, but I don't actually see that in the drawing set. Is that a part of the proposal, or?
That was the old proposal that the previous owner came.
Oh, I'm looking at the
with.
staff memo. Yep. Thank you.
Although it's dated, the spiral staircase one is dated the 2025. That's
The render
confusing.
may just be out of date. That happens. I don't know. I guess, Mr. Kwan, can you clarify? Is there a spiral staircase that's part of the?
There is not a spiral staircase
Okay.
as a part of the plan.
So
There's
just disregard the render on the cover sheet then. Okay.
There'll just be stairs going. There'll be a
Off the
set of
deck.
UK stairs going up to the third floor.
Okay.
This is Kit Lester. I'm also the case planner for this application. In the staff memo, I tried to highlight the portion of the project that I do believe would be visible from the road in the elevation. It's a bit hard to tell on Google Earth and whatnot with the vegetation, but I tried to outline it there, and I believe that is the portion that would be visible from
That's page 3 of the
Mount
staff
Vernon
report,
Street.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do we have a plan? See, demolition plans. Do we have a proposed floor plan? Am I missing it? I'm looking through the set. I see,
Yeah,
This is
elevation.
Kit. I believe I sent over just the exterior elevations to lighten up your packet a bit, but I can share the floor plan if you want me to.
well, I see so the demolition plan shows in red what you plan to remove. Or what they plan to remove, and then, for the new addition. Is there a rear view of it? Yes, there is. So the rear, let's just focus on the addition for a moment. The addition is a two-story flat roofed addition that would extend off the rear L. And it looks like it would be set in by a little bit, maybe a foot, I'm guessing, from the width of the L that abuts it. And then, I mean, in general, when we do additions off of a house like this, obviously the preferred thing is the least exposed elevation in the rear, which this is going in that direction at least. And generally want to have additions be sort of secondary, subservient in a way to the massing, so that they don't extend past the building, so they have a minor importance that way. They recede a little bit. The flat roof, a little funky how it interacts with the sloped roof in the back there. The stairway, that's where I'm trying to figure out how far it would stick out past the existing building. Oh, I see, in the rear elevation. Wait,
Yeah,
no.
that's sort of, it feels like it's sticking out further on that side than I would have expected it to. I mean, I understand the goal being to put a deck there, and that as a stair, it's going to be relatively light. But as you look up I don't know if that's the driveway side or if the driveway's on the other side, but as you look up that direction, it's definitely projecting from the mass of the house.
It's the driveway side.
Okay, yeah.
So question, this is, the stairs are simply to provide egress for the third floor unit, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so not providing egress for, is the third, what's the configuration of the house? Are you on the first and second floor, or?
Yes, I live on the first, the unit one is the first and second floor, and unit two is the top floor, the top
Got
half
it.
story.
So, question for you. I had a similar situation in my house, which is set up the same way. And this was going back a number of years. I don't know whether this is still permissible, but they weren't happy with the second means of egress that we had, and the building department allowed us to do a sprinkler system for the apartment on our third floor. Has that been anything that you've talked to the building department about as a possibility?
I did not talk to the building department, but I did look into that as a possibility just because I don't really want a staircase there. And we looked at many other configurations for a staircase, and ultimately it's just very costly.
Yeah, and I would imagine that I'm sorry, which was costly? The
fire sprinkler.
So if you're not sprinklering the whole house, I don't think that the sprinkler would be more expensive than this construction of stairs. So I don't know, but you may want to look into that again. when you were getting estimates, was that to sprinkler the whole house or just the top floor?
Just the top floor.
Okay. Okay. Because if you're not, if the stairs really aren't serving much other purpose, then that may be a way to go. Just sort of a cleaner solution. But
And this stair itself is a lot larger because you're adding a sort of a gratuitous deck, a porch in addition to it. If you were to just make it for the sole purpose of egress, I'm looking at the side view. It looks like the right half of it is it's basically a three-story deck.
It would be a two-story deck. There will be a deck on the second story and the third story. The ground floor will just be to grade, and so it was just the idea was the second story deck would replace what was there for the ground floor deck currently.
Oh, because you had a first floor. Do you have any pictures? Yes, actually, the closest thing we have to new and existing plans is the site plan, really. All right, well, we need to kind of move this along in a way. And I guess there are two issues, fundamental issues, aside from materiality and stuff like that. One is the massing of the rear addition, and the other is the stair. I don't think that we can say that you can't have an egress from a building. I mean, but we could say it needs to be as minimally visible as possible and ask that it be configured in such a way that you see it as little as possible, but we can't say like you can't have a stair. So
so I'm just wondering, it seems to be oriented, sort of perpendicular to the house as opposed to running with the house. And so, if it were running from basically the street back, so it was front to back as opposed to really running side to side. It seems like there must be a way to make it slimmer.
The reason we had it running perpendicular as opposed to parallel to the house is because running parallel to the house would have blocked off a lot of lights to our kitchen, or blocked off the windows to our kitchen. It would reduce the light of the windows into our kitchen.
Okay.
And so the current perpendicular staircase is put there because it provides one set of landings for the current entrance to the second unit.
Well,
okay. Sorry, I cut you off, DJ. You're about to say something?
What's that?
You were about to say something?
I think I was about to say that I think to your point that there's sort of two different pieces going on here. The proposed massing of the addition itself feels totally reasonable to me, and I think what was expressed in the application in the staff memo about trying to find what the phrasing was, but that it was the intent to the interest in matching the original style of siding and windows and so forth. Yeah, I think that windows of the same style, roof, similar siding materials. I'm comfortable with I'd be comfortable with staff approval of whatever the final material decisions are, provided that they're comparable, and that I feel like the massing of the addition feels perfectly fine. And then it's just a question of the stair, which is harder to judge without a floor plan to some extent. So that I guess the reason not, Mr. Klein, to do the spiral stair on the other side that was previously approved is just feasibility of doing that, but also wanting to get the deck space and figuring if you're doing the decks, you want to connect it all into one unit.
Yes, correct. And I don't know how they have eventually gotten that spiral staircase in there because the space where they proposed is very quite small.
Yeah. Have you looked into doing a spiral staircase that might be a little slimmer projection and less boxy than the rectilinear one you've got going on this, or does that get in the way of the landings you're trying to do?
That gets so the where that spiral staircase was originally proposed, that is the entrance. It is in front of the current entrance to the second unit, and so it would project pretty far. It would project further out than the initial plans, and we did
Okay.
initially in our initial plans did look into doing a spiral staircase off the rear addition. But that got kiboshed by zoning just because that would have needed a special permit.
Got it.
Because of its location in the setback?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our current rear addition massing is the biggest size that our setback would allow. And so it pushes against both the side and rear setbacks.
So, but a spiral couldn't be put where you're currently proposing the stairs and porches?
It could be, but we as the other member said, we kind of wanted the deck, and we don't know. I don't know how they would have managed to get a appropriately sized spiral staircase in the area where it was appropriately sized spiral staircase to come from that window, just because there is a doorway in front of that. There would be a doorway in front of that staircase, so which needs a 3-foot landing.
Right, so they can construct a landing and then run the spiral from that. Because that would certainly be more compact. I mean, I understand the appeal of having the outdoor spaces, but it's making the stairs pretty visible from and detracting and distracting from the historic portion of the house at the front.
Yeah.
That's kind of my view too. The addition off the back is it's kind of innocuous, to put it,
Yeah.
the positive way to put it. I'm
It's
not
just the
loving the way
stairs.
it creeps out past the roof line on the right, but I don't think you'd actually really see that from the street, so whatever. But the stairs just seem like they're really overwhelming there on the right side. So if this were me, I would sort of say, okay, on the addition pending confirming materials, which sounds like we're okay. And I would kind of be nice if you could do a little more examining what that side stair could be. And maybe coming back to us or working with staff or however, I mean, that would be my inclination on that.
Yeah, I think
your architect look at, you have an architect working with you, right? Did I see it in the title block here?
Yes.
Yeah.
my take on it, some of it could be the materiality of those too. That the wood framing of it all ends up with a fairly prominent and boxy massing to that. I mean, I think if you're trying to work the decks in there, how do you do that without and tie it in?
Yeah. I feel like there's maybe in an attempt to get some bonus like deck space there, it's getting to be clunkier than it needs to be for just a pure egress stair. And I also get your issue about you don't want to block your windows, so that's like a little.
So, question, on the second floor, where does the deck space, what does that connect to? Is it a bedroom?
It'd be a hallway.
It's a hallway, okay. I have to say that from the realtor perspective, everybody loves, the balcony off the primary bedroom and, or any of that kind of thing. No one ever uses those. So outdoor space above the main living level very, very rarely actually gets used. People love the idea of it. But in reality, I can't tell you the number of places I've gone to where people have been so enamored of it and then go back however many years later to sell it. And it's like, oh, have you ever? No, they don't use it. It's, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
think we need to figure out a new arrangement for the stairs.
Yeah, yeah, we've gone through several iterations with my architect, and this was the kind of the best we had to kind of not have a too overly gratuitous stairs and allow maximum light into our kitchen while maintaining a deck and stuff.
Yeah.
the 2-story addition on the back looks like the wall on the non-driveway side is a fairly blank wall. Is that
Correct. That was our original idea of where we were gonna put a spiral staircase, but that did not work out.
okay? And would you in theory be able, I can't tell quite, without the full site plan, is there just not quite enough room to come down from that second story addition to grade, wrapping around the side and the back of the house or something like that to get you? I mean, because you could fit a slimmer deck that tucked in a little bit better on the driveway side without projecting so far if you didn't have to try to mix this stair into it. Could you wrap the side and the back of the addition, or does that run into your zoning setbacks?
Yeah, so that ran into our zoning issues, the not in our setbacks. The one being that in order to have a door out onto that flat roof, we would have needed to do a head house because that is where our the chimney is along that exterior wall, and we didn't want to go through the hassle of removing chimney because I saw many cases where removing of second chimneys were denied, so I didn't want to deal with that, and so there was just no way to get a door out onto that flat,
right?
Just because it's very narrow without removing
because of the side. Okay, where you're coming out. Okay.
So you're saying then that the spiral doesn't work because of the complications of getting onto the roof that it would require you to go over?
Yes, though we would not be able to get a door onto the roof to get access to that spiral staircase. The door to code, anyways.
So the door that's shown on your rendering, the previous rendering, wouldn't work.
The door shown on the previous rendering that is currently there would be consumed by the second story of the addition, which would be a bedroom.
Got it.
Well, that's showing it coming off the third story, off the back gable.
That
Back gable.
I'm looking at that 3D rendering from when you had this spiral.
right.
Because ignoring that for a moment, that it looks like if I look at your plot plan, if that red dashed line is your setback, you do have a good bit of distance between the side of your proposed 2-story addition and that magenta setback line, the 3-foot.
Yes.
Could you need a 5-foot diameter for, call it 6 for a spiral stair. You're saying that's not going to fit in that space, and if so, what if you pulled it, thinned up the addition by a foot or 2 or something to get that to fit?
So no, the issue with putting a staircase there is that we would not be able to get a door out to the staircase.
From the third, okay, because before you said that it wouldn't fit without needing a special permit.
Yes, and so the special permit would be for the head house that allows us to extend onto the flat roof because by building a head house we would the addition would be a 3-story addition, and that would not go in zoning.
I'm not feeling comfortable enough giving this just like a green light tonight. Right now, I'm not saying no, but I feel like it needs to be digested a little bit more. I'm okay with an addition. And I'm finding myself getting sucked into like zoning analysis and stuff like that. And is this something that we could continue or revisit with staff or something like that? The issue of that, work with your architect, or we could meet with them at a future meeting?
This is Kit, the case planner for the application. We're definitely happy to work with the applicant and the inspectional services division to look at a few more options if the board wishes.
That just feels like we're aware of constraints. We're being told there's some zoning issues, and it just feels like there's some moving pieces here. And what's the rest of the commission? What do you all feel about this?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can. I'm not comfortable with the stairs sort of projecting off the house as much as they are. So it either means losing the porches to have the staircase, or you keep the porches and you find a different solution that doesn't require the staircase, something like sprinklering the third floor unit, if that's something that the building department would still allow. But I don't, there's just not enough space behind the house, to conceal behind the house to have porches and the staircase. I don't have concern about the way that the addition is presented. It's really just, for me, it's the stairs projecting.
yeah, it's
Okay.
same here. I feel like they and the decks project about twice as far as the current one-story deck, first-story deck. But instead of just being at the first story, they're going 3 stories up with a big box of massive stair at sort of the foremost corner of that. It's going to turn it from a little projection at ground level you barely notice to, oh, that's a stair tower there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just behind the sort of projection of the massing of the house. Feels a little
Okay.
not quite resolved to me too. Yeah. So
Mr. Kwong, would you be willing to continue this and we could revisit that aspect of of the case?
Yes, I mean, this is exactly the feedback I was looking for. I've gone back with my architect many times on those stairs and kind of
Yeah.
figuring out
No,
something
and
that doesn't.
as an architect, I've dealt with this kind of situation. I know it's sort of like a head scratcher, but there's a solution. And so if that's the case, then since we do have another bunch of things on the agenda that's backed up, what do we need to do? Just vote to continue, or does the applicant sign?
Don't we need the applicant to ask for continuance?
and we need a date to continue it too, correct?
Yes, which would probably be the second
November
November
18th,
meetings.
November
Well,
18th.
Yeah, this is Madison speaking. The next meeting is November 18th, but I do want to caution the board that meeting's already looking kind of booked.
I guess, Mr. Kwong, also it's up to you if you would want a little longer than that anyway to kind of go back and forth with your architect. It's
Yeah, I will. I'm just trying to digest here. So the overall feedback is just it's too much projection of the rear deck. I need to figure out something else to kind of make it less of an eyesore. Okay.
Yes, from the street. If you creep down it kind of obliquely there on the side, it's just like you've got a beautiful house with beautiful detail in the front and the corners there. And we don't want something that's going to kind of stick out like a wart in the back. And what people notice about it is that big thing off the back side. So make it minimize it.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm hearing.
This is Kit Lester. The meeting after, so the next available meeting that Madison is cautioned is looking a little full is the 18th, and after that it's December 2nd.
Can I ask for a continuance to December 2nd, please?
Perfect. Sure. Do we need a motion on that then?
I think we do.
Okay, someone want to throw one of those out there?
I move that we accept the applicant's request to continue the meeting to December 2nd.
I second that.
Okay, meeting, vote on the continuance, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Kwong. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
You too. Moving right along, we have public hearings for demolition. Determination of historic significance is under the demolition review ordinance, and the first case is HHP 25-000077. Address is 62 Elmwood Street. The applicant is Robert Trewick. The owner is Deeb Robert Trustee. I'm pronouncing this all right. The applicant seeks to demolish a building constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. And before you jump in, just a reminder to any members of the public who are here, this is a two-step process. Whenever a building over 75 years old is proposed to be demolished, we review it first for significance. See if the building in its own right is significant. It does not take into consideration its condition or some of the other extenuating stuff. If we say no, then it's free to be demolished. If we say yes, then we schedule a subsequent public hearing in which we determine whether or not it'll be privilege preserved. And then if we say yes, and that hearing would consider other aspects of it, like the condition and maybe alternate proposals and things like that. If we say yes, then it begins a delay of up to 18 months during which we can review options to demolition, or if demolition becomes the obvious solution, then ways of memorializing the existing structure or kind of influencing what replaces it. So is the applicant here? Would you like to give us a quick rundown of your proposal?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ms. White speaking. Madison had to leave. She's not feeling well, so I'm taking over for the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
And so, yes, we have Robert Trewick with his hand raised. Robert, I'm going to promote you to panelist. This will take just a second. And hopefully we will have you accept that request, and on you will be. I see you, and if you'd like to unmute yourself, that would be great, and pop up on camera, please. There you
Hi,
are.
everyone. Yep. Okay. Excuse the lighting. I pulled over so I could have this meeting. But to be clear, we're not doing a complete demo. And I'm actually I'm taking over a project that started a few years ago, and then I'm buying it off of Bob Deep and looking for the permit to complete out the project. So all in all, the total amount of demo that is to be done is less than 60%. I'd like to share my screen to show a couple photos and things.
Sure,
That's okay
please.
with everybody. Can everybody see what I got here?
Nope, I can unfortunately just see myself.
Wow.
That is unpleasant. Okay, that's much better.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is the existing photos now. Where did it go? Okay, so this is upstairs, inside, that had already been started. And this is what it looks like right now. And I'm looking to just do a partial demo, to add on to the side and complete out the project, make it a safe place. If you look at the plans we'll go to page 1. You scroll down, we'd be removing the roof and we put a mansard roof on. And this is what it looked like before the previous contractor got into it. And so I guess the previous contractor got into it and then he failed, left for whatever the reason. Now I'm looking to take it over. So this is what it looked like before. And then, like I said, you saw the pictures of what it looks like right now. So I'm not looking to do a total demo. It's already been it's kind of a mess and unsafe right now. You know, the doors are unlocked, everything's open. You want to make it safe for everyone. And going back over here, if you go down to page 6, the demo 1 page, you'll see we have, I know it doesn't matter, but we're preserving the trees. Everything's all in here. The stuff that come through this side.
Sorry, Mr. Treywick, if I could, the HPC at this moment can't consider what you might build to replace the building. They can only evaluate whether or not the existing building is or is not historically significant. So if they get to the point where they determine it's historically significant, and then you go to a determination of whether or not the building should be preferably preserved, then they could actually consider the plans that you have in front of you. So sorry, just wanted to give you that piece of information. And I'm also looking at myself talking again.
I'm sorry.
And that's so unpleasant.
Yeah, thanks, sir, for
my apologies.
I have no mirrors in my house for a reason. No, it's okay. So they can't consider this information right now as to what the building will look like in the future.
That is correct. Thank you for setting that straight. I mean, it's interesting to know that is the nature of the demolition you're proposing. But so as Sarah said, right now we're basically looking at the building. Does it have significance as it now exists, either by itself or in relation to its surroundings or association with a famous person, basically, things like that. If we say no, then none of this matters. If we say yes, then we could we would look at your information at the next hearing, and there are different paths to go
So I
forward.
apologize for data dumping everything on.
Oh no, I appreciate it's great that you bring ready stuff for us.
Yeah,
it's better that than waving your hands around.
Yeah, no, I've been chasing, I wanted to do this. I love working in Somerville. I want to make it nice,
Okay.
So we went through everything. We passed the zoning and they said just needed you guys to say, okay, I guess.
And what often happens, I'm not saying this is what would happen, but in plenty of cases where we have a proposal to demolish a building and we vote to put a demolition delay, basically, it very often results in a plan that might be like something you've proposed here, where we say that's better than it could be, basically, or it's an acceptable alternate, and then we end up doing a memorandum of agreement with you, and that gets locked in, and that happens sometimes. So a lot of different paths that this could go into.
All right.
Well, let's first, before we go off on that, let's just first take up public comment for this. If any members of the public would like to speak about this case.
If anyone, member of the public, has a comment about this, please raise your hand. I see Lynn Richards has her hand raised. And if I could ask a member of our staff, either Kit, Alvaro, or Lexi, could one of you please come online and show your screen so that we can set the 2-minute timer, please?
This is Kit. I can share the timer.
Thank you so much. I'll wait until you're all set.
Sorry, just give me 1 second.
Sure thing. Lynn, we see you. Just give me 1 sec here. So for members of the public, while we're waiting for the timer to come on, just so you're aware, some of the things that the HPC cannot take into consideration are things such as demolition of this building for determination of historic significance, that demolition of the building would help create more housing, or zoning considerations or construction impacts, anything of that nature. The HPC is not allowed to take into consideration. They can only take into consideration whether or not, based on the research that has been conducted by our staff, the building holds significance in terms of architectural, historic, socio-political, or other such means of importance to the city of Somerville. So they have specific criteria they have to follow. So that's just a little bit of background before we start. Thank you, Kit. And Lynn, I'm going to unmute you. And if you could unmute yourself, and you've got 2 minutes. Go right ahead.
Excellent. Thank you all. So I'm Lynn Richards. I'm at 9 Harrison, which is right across the street from this property. I'm also a member of the Somerville Planning Board, as an FYI. I guess I'm a little confused. I thought this was coming at a total demolition. The applicant said that it was only going to be a 60% demolition. Nothing was presented tonight to demonstrate what is the 60% besides the roof. As a member of the planning board, and as a resident, I'm actually against the demolition. My house was totally gutted. And it wasn't demolished. The house next to us at 11 Harrison also was not demolished. And the importance of maintaining the architectural integrity of the housing stock of Somerville is what makes it truly a unique place as it grows and evolves. So I'm concerned about the demolition of the property. And losing some of the architectural elements for it. So that's what I have to say. Kind of against it. Don't think it's good for the street. Don't think it's good for Somerville. That's
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. So if anybody else has a comment on this, please use the raise your hand function and I will unmute you. And Mr. Chairman, I don't see any other hands raised, so you can close the public comment portion of this hearing should you choose.
All right, I'll do that. I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and toss this into the commission. What do you all think?
Well, thinking about it in terms of significance, sort of looking at the context, I think it, retains its original form and massing, although it's lost, well, even prior to the previous contractor's work on it, which I understand is not Mr. Trawick's doing. It had lost most of its detailing, presumably. Architecturally, it's a slightly different feel from the rest of the houses on the street. Other than its size, scale, and so forth, from an architectural point of view, it's not all that it doesn't grab me all that much. On the other hand, the sort of social history of the property I find fairly interesting in the way it ties into the social history, especially given the long string of African American residents, which we don't often see much of in Somerville. It's kind of an interesting piece of the city's history, which is kind of cool. Does that on its own bring it all the way to the level of significance? I'm on the fence. And I don't know. And possibly someone may have other opinions than I do too about the form and the massing. I mean, it's a unique sort of house, which I guess was built with its kind of corner in mind, which is kind of interesting. No thoughts?
So the house is smaller than, the lot is narrower, the house is smaller than most others in the immediate area. It's not, it's not specifically contributing to kind of rhythm and pattern of the street. It's not detracting from it, but it's not really contributing. It's not, one of a number of houses like it. The sort of odd hip roofed piece doesn't seem like that's original, certainly, so some of the massing has changed. And given the condition that it's in now, and I know that's not what we're thinking about, so let me just not even go down that road. But yeah, it doesn't feel like there's enough there to say that this house is or was historically significant. Other than the social sort of history of it and representation of working class residents and some of the African American history that we just certainly through the Historic Commission with properties that have come before us, this is the first time that I recall that kind of noted history for a property that's come before us.
But what you, Mr. Barr, what do you think?
Oh, I think I'm sort of on the fence on this. I think in general that there is enough there, particularly with the social history to go with it. But I am, as I said, still somewhat on the fence.
Yeah, I'd say I'm sort of in that same realm. I'm usually fairly deferential to the pattern and rhythm on streetscapes, and in fact, every single house on the street is a street-facing gable, which is pretty standard for Somerville. This was built sort of outside of the standard of a lot. If you go down across the little side street, there's a series of them. They were sort of a different design in a way, larger footprint. It does kind of carry that idea through. It has been botched up. I don't think, as Robin said, we can't really consider its current condition. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If I may, through you, what I'd like to bring to the commission's attention is that you have choices that, if you're all on the fence, which is what I'm hearing, you all have choices which are not binary, right? You don't have to determine it to be historically significant or vote that it's not, or that it's historically significant and or then preferably preserved or not. You could, never mind, I take back exactly what I was going to say. It's only if you got to the point of you could determine it to be historically significant, but it's only if you got to the point of preferably preserved that you could say not preferably preserved with conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know
there's
that you're
not-
struggling with the social history here, which is I think one of the things that we're all struggling with. And its importance, because if it were not preferably preserved with conditions, but you're not at that stage, then you could require historic interpretive signage.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the other thing that you could do too is if you were to determine, if you were leaning more towards this doesn't merit, a determination that it is historically significant, you could ask if the applicant would voluntarily commit to installing signage, with photos of the original building and information about the previous owners and, African American history and the history of being a Pullman porter. And you can ask him if he would be willing to do that. That would be your other option of what you could do at this point.
May I interrupt with a yes to that answer? That's an answer.
So, question to Ms. White. So with the applicant's commitment to doing that, and we can,
Mhm.
staff would help formulate that
That is correct.
agreement. We could say this evening that even if we find that the property is not historically significant, the applicant could agree to that.
Correct. And you could structure your vote, right, such that it's not historically significant. And you could, after you take that vote, presuming that's the vote that you would take, we could structure another component of that decision, a subcomponent of that decision, which codifies an agreement that the applicant has stated that they would voluntarily install historic interpretive signage and work with staff to do so.
Yeah. I feel like it feels like that could easily become part of the findings as to why it does or does not meet the historic significance thresholds, in that it, you know, the sense of the commission, hypothetically, the sense of the commission is that it doesn't rise to the level of historic significance on its own.
In terms of
Because-
architecture, for example.
In terms of architecture.
Right.
And because we have this commitment to record the social history, we're okay.
Yeah.
Proceeding. Yeah.
Correct.
And then it's in the findings, and therefore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, then.
And that we would certainly make a note that, Mr. Trewick, that you have said that you would agree to install that signage. And Mr. Trewick, so that you know, as we're having this conversation now, staff provides you with the images and with the text, and with the guidelines for the signage. Usually it's like a 24 by 30 or 24 by 36 sign that you would just put so that it's visible from the public way and readable by the street. You see a lot of these signs, in a lot of like parks and things like that. So there's definitely like a bit of a cost to you to install it, but we provide all the design services for you, and then you just give it to your manufacturer to do. So we kind of cut that design cost out of it for you by creating the files for you. I'm sorry, you're muted.
Yep. It said perfect. Thank you. It sounds very straightforward. So.
Very good. Thank you. You were just afraid I was going to say something about seeing myself on screen again, weren't you?
I'm learning. Sorry.
I'm having a really distant memory of some demo case from like 10 or 15 years ago where it was found that this street had a history of African-American homeowners, but I don't remember if that was true or if I'm just imagining it, like I read it in a book or something.
Oh, I think you are correct.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
If it was,
Which would actually be
if
worthy
it were
of-
15 years ago, I wouldn't know because I wasn't here. 10 years ago, I was on the cusp
Well,
of
I'm
my
just
arrival. So
guessing, but I mean, time, I can't believe we're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that coming up specifically in the context of a case, but I do think that is a true statement about that street. This was a little African-American neighborhood for a long, long time.
So that,
in any case,
that's all
it
fine
sounds
to
like-
me. What's binding, just to be the devil's advocate, what's binding about that request? Let's say that the applicant wakes up tomorrow and says, you know what, forget you.
well,
Or if
there is
Mr. Trewick, for whatever reason, ends up needing to sell the property, what can we attach to the property that would continue on to a new owner?
Well, one of the things we could do is we could do a memorandum of agreement, which is typically what we do for properties that go through the MOA process that have been determined to be preferably preserved by y'all and they're in demo delay. We could codify, we could say in the decision that the applicant, agrees, presuming that he does, to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the city that will be recorded with the Registry of Deeds that states that, historic interpretive signage will be installed, and that, it'll give the proviso that like staff will, do all the legwork and then we'll give him the parameters to install that. And then it follows the property then.
Okay.
But Mr. Trewick has to be, comfortable with that and understand that that's something that, if he were to enter into that, then, he signs it, the chair of the commission signs it, and you record it at the Registry of Deeds, and then it becomes like a permanent legal document. And like if you were to sell the property before finishing it, like the seller would also have to install the signage.
Yep. No,
Or sorry, the new buyer would have to install the signage.
completely understand.
Okay.
And I think to Chair Parks's question, what attaches it to the decision and gives it legal bindingness is that we're conditioning our findings based on that.
You could.
Yeah,
There's nothing that would prevent you
hypothetically.
from conditioning your findings.
And then that would tie into any permit that somebody else tries to have and they get a final CO. If I were to sell it, it's all a condition of obtaining that certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, all this is one of those things that would have to be done by the, time you're ready to apply for your CO. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Of course.
Well,
Okay.
hearing that, then I think we need to take a vote on finding the property at 62 Elmwood Street historically significant, because we're required to phrase this one in the positive. A yes vote would mean that it is significant. A no vote meaning that it is not, and we'll go into why in findings either way, I guess.
I second that.
Okay. We have a vote for significance from Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Vice Chair Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I will vote
Nay.
no on this. And we'll do the roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
No.
Vice Chair Kelly,
No.
and I will vote no. So the follow-up then is the findings, which we've discussed,
Yeah.
Yep.
and would like to make a stab at that.
The property does not contribute significantly to the rhythm of the streetscape. The form has been altered by multiple additions, so it's no longer retains its original massing. It's not associated with a specific historic architectural style, but it does have significant social history as property having been lived in and owned by many African American Somerville residents. And the applicant has offered to provide signage that will reflect the social history of the property and the area. Ms. White, is that capturing things sufficiently in the findings to then allow you to do the memorandum of agreement?
That's good, and I would add that and I would add that this has been that the applicant has agreed to codify the commitment to installing the interpretive signage in a recorded memorandum of agreement with the Registry of Deeds.
We'll add that to our findings. Anyone?
I'll say that, yeah.
Is there anything else?
Second those findings, unless there's.
So I move that we vote to adopt those findings with the or with the adjustments in language provided by Ms. White.
I will second that.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the findings proposed by Vice Chair Kelly?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call, starting with Vice Chair Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Okay, and this.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, one more thing. You did discuss putting it as a condition on your determination as well. And Mr. Trewick, you are okay with that if we say like, the condition is that that there will be an MOA entered into to install historic interpretive signage by the time of certificate of occupancy, and you and I will work out that together.
Sounds good. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mr. Parks, I would recommend that you make that statement and vote on that so that it is in the record and formally in the decision.
So that was not, okay, we can, I guess we'll entertain a motion to accept the
Yeah, I
condition.
I would move that we accept the proposed condition, the phrasing of the proposed condition.
Was articulated by Ms. White.
Right, thank you, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do our roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
There we go.
All right.
If I could, two more quick things, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Trewick, I will start working with a couple of other members of our staff to get this going for you already so that we have the documentation, we have the text, we have the images and the files ready to go for you. So I will get people working on this as a project soon. And then I will have your staff planner, Alvaro Esparza, reach out to you so that we could just have a meeting so we can go over what an MOA looks like. And if I could say one more thing, which is about Alvaro Esparza, I like to call out members of the staff that do that do a great job, which they always do. But this is again one of Alvaro's first, or maybe it's only his second demo case that he's had to do. And so the fact that he uncovered all of this information about these occupants and that I might have been kind of like exploding and doing a lot of hand motions about like, finding these African American owners and residents of this property, which is probably not as rare as it seems to be because of just the buildings that we see come before us. But the fact that he found it, that he did the digging, he did the research into the Pullman Porter and what it meant. And I just really like to commend him for a job really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is it's very well done. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Let me move on. We have another determination of, sorry, I just lost my agenda.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you for working with us.
Oh, I look forward to hearing from you soon.
You bet.
So we now have two public hearings for step 2, the preferably preserved condition. And they're basically two, there are 3 cases, 2 of which are 2 halves of the same building. And the first of these is HP 25-000056, address is 10 Sargent Avenue. The applicant is the law office of Michael LaRosa. The owner is Patrick and Kayla Canty. The applicant seeks to demolish a building constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. And is the applicant back with us tonight?
Mr. Chairman, Michael LaRosa is here. Michael, I'm going to promote you to a panelist, so this will take just a second. And Tanya Carriere is also here from the architect's office, and so I will promote her as well. And I think you're both unmuted, yes, Michael?
Yes.
All right, great. And Tanya, you're all set? Super. Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, welcome. Give us a little rundown. Anything new we should know? Anything else?
Nothing new, really new. I'll keep it brief. I'll kind of give a rehash of what we discussed before at the initial meeting. There really, as you can see from the staff report, there doesn't appear to me much any general historical association or significance to the property, other than Mr. Sargent owned it at one point, but it doesn't even appear he lived there. So there's not much to discuss. As for the structural importance of it, it is a 2.5-story front gable Italianate home. It's kind of common in the area, but it's in very tough condition, as you can see. And there isn't much, if any, I would say, original detail or really notable characteristics left to it that I think would heighten it to a significant connotation. There've been many alterations over the years that, if anything, have diminished that historical value. Aluminum windows, aluminum siding, removal of eave brackets, removal of a door hood, replaced with kind of a cheap late 20th century one. Anyway, admittedly, I think the first meeting we kind of moved beyond that stuff, and the main concern seemed to be the overall look of the street. Nothing really pertaining to this lot in particular, at least as far as I remember. Um, Admittedly, there are similarly styled houses on the block, but I think if you recall at the end of our first meeting, I did note at the end that the house directly across from 10 Sergeant has been recently or more recently renovated in, quite honestly, a style I don't know how to describe. But it definitely breaks up the block. So I don't think demo of 10 Sergeant would be very detrimental to the neighborhood as it stands now. But that all being said, as Kit mentioned, we're not looking to be a big disruptor here. We do have Tanya Carrera of KDI Architecture on, who I like to hand it over to basically, if the board will allow, just to show you what the planned new design will be. There's been a lot of thought into it, and I think if the demo is allowed, the new structure, although new, would follow suit with the existing streetscape and not really disrupt much of anything. If I can, I'll turn it over to Tanya. I don't know if she's already.
Yes, I'm here.
Sure. Yeah, please.
If you're ready. All right, great. Good evening, everyone. Tanya Carrier from Kelsa Design. I'll share my screen and briefly show you our proposed design and how we came about with it. Okay, so just starting with a few existing photos. I know you guys are all familiar, but so this is our existing house at 10 Sargent, and as Mike mentioned, some of the notable features included the gable roof, coordinating with the kind of the rhythm of the street here. And the street is made up of a number of gable roof buildings, all of which have different style porches, different bay styles. But in the end, most of the houses are that gable roof with different renovations and facade detailing. And as you can see, most of our detailing has been stripped. I'm not sure what it looked like originally, but I assume it had more detailing at one point in time. So what we are proposing here, starting with the site plan, would be a similar style house, a detached house. It would contain 3 dwelling units, and it would have a a gable roof facing the street. We would propose to keep a driveway on the same side as exists now, but fit that out with pervious pavers. Right now, the site is mainly paved in asphalt almost entirely, except for small landscape area. And then we would propose a backyard cottage to add a bit of additional housing units to the city. And I won't go into detail on the plans, but basically it would be 3 units in the main house, vertically stacked, and then a 4th unit in the cottage. And skipping to exterior elevations, because I know it's late. So we did look at the street, as I mentioned, and the style of the buildings, and we really felt it appropriate to keep a gable roof design versus go with a mansard or a triple decker style based on what we have surrounding us. So we've proposed a gable roof design. We did do a 2-story bay, kind of a square style, and then we have a front porch for the 2nd floor as well. We did propose dormers, setting them quite far back from the front facade towards the back of the building, but still leaving a 3.5-foot edge from the main massing on the rear there. And we propose materials in keeping with the streetscape while also providing a bit of a fresh look. Lap siding in kind of traditional colors with a cream trim and a light grayish blue siding, and then on the bay we have white siding with a panel and an accent color in burnt orange here. Our windows are a bit different than the style in the street, but we do feel they kind of contribute and work with this style of building. And just a 3D view showing how it could look from the street. Again, on our gable, we did provide a little bit of extra detailing and molding on the inset and also on the cornice of the bay here. And side and rear view, we wanted to conceal the parking under the 2nd floor area. So that's what you're seeing here. So with that, I'll basically turn it back over to you guys to leave plenty of time for review and comments and questions.
Okay, thank you. The next step for us, unless you want to add anything else, is to solicit public comment. If there are any members of the public who'd like to speak about this case, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Does anyone have any comments? Mr. Chairman, I see no hands. You may feel
Okay.
free to close the public comment portion.
I'll do that. Close the public comment portion of the hearing and see what you all think on the commission. Obviously, we don't always get a design this far along at this stage get presented with it. Reminder, this is a determination of preferably preserved status. It's not like an historic district we're reviewing minutia, or even for reviewing anything. So with that said, who wants to start off?
Sure, I'll jump in. I remember the significance discussion here, mostly focusing, as Mr. LaRosa reminded us, I mean, mostly focusing on the rhythm of the streetscape. You know, the building retains much of its massing and form, I guess, but compared to a lot of its neighbors, the detail is gone. And most of what seemed significant, at least to me, in that previous discussion, and what I remember us discussing, was about the rhythm of the streetscape. And to me, the proposed building does a fairly good job of respecting that aspect of it. So I could see myself at least leaning towards not preferably preserved, with conditions that the proposed replacement structure be, relatively in keeping with the plans as presented. I mean, I know there's or if we're not supposed to be conditioning it on a particular set of plans, then not preferably preserved, with the condition that what replace it be a 2.5-story gable fronted sort of situation too. I don't know quite where we're allowed to draw the line with conditions, but
Mr. Chairman, if I could, yes, I mean, to Mr. Chagnon's point, you could use the language such as, perfectly preserved, and, with the condition that, the plans presented at, this meeting, that the replacement building be substantially similar in design and detail to the plans presented at tonight's meeting. And then I would ask Ms. Carrier just for like the date on the plan set that was submitted for this, so that it could be referenced properly. But if you use language such as that, then I think that's gives enough parameters to it, and still kind of gets you, I think, where you want to go.
If I can add, I know it's the board's time, but further to what Ms. White just said, obviously my client put a lot of time and effort into the plans, as the chair mentioned. Usually they're not this detailed at this point, but the reason why he did that was he wanted to show the intent to keep with the streetscape. So we'd be willing to offer up something if we needed to offer up to say that we'll stick closely to the plan, or whatever, following in line what you did on the last case, where we offer it up as opposed to it being a condition imposed.
Okay, thank you for that. It's sounding like that is a reasonable way to go, and we didn't used to have this ability to kind of attach conditions to this point of the game. It's obviously something that makes sense to me at this stage, because what you're proposing does sort of respect that which most interested us about the significance of the building. So, yeah.
You did not go unheard, believe me.
Okay.
To me, it feels like this is, if we were to vote it preferably preserved and enter an MOA process, we'd be turning around at the next meeting to approve these plans as the subject of the MOA. So.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
That was the goal.
yet another
Right.
page in the registry of deeds and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right,
It
right.
feels like,
So if I could just really quickly for Mr. LaRosa, so they can say that it's preferably preserved, not preferably preserved, or not preferably preserved with conditions. And so one of those conditions could just be that it's substantially similar to these in design and detail to these plans with allowances for ensuring that the
Yes.
project is also zoning compliant. So
Yes.
allowing for tweaks
Right.
and all that stuff. So
Yeah. That would be fine.
All right. So let's take a motion unless somebody else has anything else to say.
I would move that we find the building at 10 Sergeant Ave not preferably preserved, with the condition that the that any replacement building be substantially similar to the plans as presented tonight, subject to formal identification to be provided through staff.
In zoning, any other city.
Yes, substantially similar, subject to necessary changes for zoning, etc.
Okay.
And could we amend that a little bit just to say substantially similar, specifically to include a front-facing gable roof and 2.5-story, look in keeping with the streetscape.
But I am totally open to that.
I think we're okay with that. If I could ask if you're gonna go that far to just mention the dormers. So that it's clear that they are on plan, that everybody.
The
looks-
acceptance of the dormers.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be great. I just
Yeah,
don't want any confusion down the line, that's all.
I would say that, at least for me, the accepting the dormers is conditional on them being substantially similar to, and that they don't creep all the way to the front and so forth. But
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
clearly
I
not
just
your
didn't want it to
intent,
be
so,
confusing about the front facing gable and
that makes
say that they
sense.
had no mention of it.
That makes sense. Yep.
Fair enough.
All right. Yeah, so
Is that
moved.
an official second, Robin, or was there
Yes,
anything else?
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
We're voting a positive to say not, all right, we're changing our pattern a little bit. Positive vote is not preferably preserved, but with conditions.
Correct.
Okay, so in case, yes, I'll do a roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
All right.
And then I guess we still need to adopt findings. And the findings, this is kind of, we're not accustomed to doing findings where we've taken this route. It's not significant, but also we would state in the findings that the proposed design by the applicant basically summarize why we did it, that it preserves the significant elements of the existing structure.
I think that's
if
it,
I
right?
could, if I could offer some guidance, which is I
Sure,
think
yeah.
that you have to adopt findings as to why you haven't found the building itself to be preferably preserved,
Yeah.
right? About all those details that we're missing and whatever, etc. And then you could also, state at the end of those findings what you just said about the proposed replacement building.
Okay, it's sort of a hedge then.
Yeah.
Kit, may I ask a question? I'm sorry, this is Attorney LaRosa again. Not Kit, Ms. White, I'm sorry. Getting everybody mixed up at this point, it's too late. Do we need to address in any way the concrete block garage in the back? I know staff has the ability to determine that, but should we do it now? So it's not an issue later?
You should do it now by submitting an application for it through CitizenServe, and then staff can take care of that at a
Staff will
staff
just take
level.
care of it. Okay.
Right, but it can't happen during the meeting because it's
I just
actually a
wanted to
separate
ask
building.
now, that's all.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you bet.
All right, so we want to revise the conditions to state basically the reasons we didn't decide that the structure ought to be perfectly preserved.
It's more
ignoring the fact that
the findings, right?
the findings.
Yeah, the findings are that it's not importantly associated with any notable people, events, history, architect, etc. And that while the building retains its original massing, much of the detailing and nuance of it is gone, and it's not a particularly strong example of its architectural style. And I would say that its primary contribution is in its form and massing, and the proposed replacement structure preserves those aspects of it, so, or echoes those aspects of it to a sufficient level that the commission did not find it preferably preserved.
Yeah, I think we
With the
have to
condition
sort of
that,
unify those a little bit like that otherwise, because I would not have voted this way had there not been a condition. Okay.
Right.
All right. Pretty good with that?
Yes, I move that
So-
we vote to adopt those as our findings.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do the roll call. Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So thank you for sticking with us through this.
No,
Case is
thank you
always a
all
little
for
bit
your
tricky.
time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I'll see you all.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have a structure on Oak Street, which is how do we do this last time? We have to vote separately on these two, but we can hear them together.
That's correct.
HP 25-00063 and HP 25-00064. The 63 is the only one of which we'll be voting at this. Let's just call it HP 25-00063, 17 Oak Street.
And I'm sorry, I was trying to do two things at once. Mr. Chair, did you call 15 as well?
Well, I technically shouldn't we call one of them, discuss the whole project, and then because we're gonna vote it and then close that and then open another hearing on 15.
You can call them all together, but you have to vote it because it's one building. So you
Okay.
can call them both. Because it's one building, you can discuss it together, but you have to take a vote on each one.
So we can have two cases open simultaneously then.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Take your word for it. So in that case, we're opening both HP 25-00063 and HP 25-00064. Addresses are 17 and 15 Oak Street.
Mhm.
With
Now,
that,
if you were
okay.
talking about two separate buildings right next to each other that were like two separate, like just two separately owned, but just happen
yeah.
to be like that. No, that you couldn't do, but this is okay.
I get it. I was just wondering if there's some more quirky formality to do with the way cases work, but
Yeah, you're okay. You're good. Okay, so Adam Dash is here, Attorney Dash. I am going to promote you to a panelist, and I believe that'll just take a second, and you should be unmuted as well.
Good evening.
good evening, Attorney Dash. Welcome.
Quite good to see you all. Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street in Somerville, representing Hope and Prospect Development, LLC, the applicant and owner of the property known as 15 and 17 Oak Street. Paul Connolly and Brian Chang may still be here from Hope and Prospect, or they may have given up. We'll find out. At any rate, I want to give you a little bit of, we last saw each other on September 2nd. I want to give a little background. I want to show you some pictures as well, because I think from the comments last time, maybe I didn't explain it quite as clearly as I should have. But just real quick to recap a little bit, I'm going to address obviously 15 and 17 Oak together. The applicant seeking to demolish both of these addresses, to be clear, where there are currently 2 units on either side, and the idea is to build new structures where we would have a total of 4 units on each. So we would end up with, instead of 4 units on the site, we'd end up with 8 units, which is to help create some of the badly needed housing in the city. This property sits at the Y intersection of Oak and Bolton. Let me show you the assessor's map, because I marked it up since we last spoke here, if you can see my screen. So the yellow outlines here, 34 and 35. That is 15 Oak is 34 and 17 Oak is 35. As you can see, the building here the city has a lot line going through it. I would note that this lot 34, this 15 Oak Street, is only 30 feet wide, which is too narrow for any of the building types that we could build in this district. And this one is 40 feet wide. One of the reasons for the demolition is that the only way to redevelop this site to get the 8 units is this line's got to move over to give us at least the minimum 34-foot width on each side. You could not do anything with this with 30 feet, just to say. So, at any rate, this is the property here. Bolton comes out here at the Y. To the right of that, this is a 2-family. To the right of it here is a multiplex 5-family. Right here is like a single-family ranchish sort of house. I'll show you some pictures in a minute. This is a commercial building down here. You have a 2-family here, a 2-family here, a 2-family here. You've got 6-unit, which looks like 6-unit condos from the 80s, sort of townhouses down here. As you can see, there's no rhythm at all here on this side of the street. I mean, it's like 4 lots together, L shape, little square, Oak Street Place. This lot, narrow lot, big lot here, big lot, crazy lot, and then these all houses face diagonally onto Oak. It really is a bit of a jumble down here, and it's a dense area, so I understood how probably got developed like this. But you can see up here facing Concord, it's all regular. Down here on Oak, it's just chaotic. So let me show you, and I'm going to stop and start again because last time I tried to do this by clicking screens, it didn't work. I want to show you a Google map just so I can show you the buildings themselves, and hopefully this will work. All right, you can see that. This is the 1517 Oak with the fun Brickmaster on the front there. You can see, as we've talked about last time, there's a massive later addition on the back. To the right here, you can see this is that 5-family multiplex, which also has a big addition on the back. If you go across the street here, let's see, let's go back over to the Bolton intersection. You've got this house, which is not like a front end gable because this side, this flat part is where the front door is facing Bolton. I would note on our house that the doors don't face the street. This house is sort of wedged in sideways, unlike these other houses on the street. When you go up here, 2 doors down, there's that sort of ranch thing I was talking about. This is a single-family ranch. A couple doors down, you've got these houses here, which it looks like at the time were being heavily worked on because there's a porta potty out front and new windows. And you go up here at the end, and that's the commercial building on the end of the street I was talking about. And these are the buildings that are diagonally facing basically away from us. And that was demolished. So I don't know what to say about that. It's not my project. And then you can see the big old building here across the street from us. So what we're looking at here, and I guess the staff report does talk about how the structure has been altered, including the large 2-story 1960s era rear addition and the shed roof in the rear addition, and of course the faux stone siding and the concrete steps and the iron railings and the concrete foundation and the replacement windows, and how it was once 2 units and then it got changed to 4 units. The staff board does say that this other structures are on the street are common building types. I would note that the buildings are different in the neighborhood. Oh, geez. Whoops. Let me stop that because it is just going crazy on me. So are different. Some are relatively new, and there's no real street pattern. The property at issue doesn't match, being that it's sideways and asymmetrical. The rear addition is asymmetrical. We did talk about that last time. And the brick face look along the street. And as I said, we can't keep the lots. We can't keep the building and do something because the lot is too small. Otherwise, they're too narrow. The applicant, I've talked to them, and they looked at the staff report, just to put this back up, that they were fine with the finding of not preferably preserved with the proposed conditions in the staff report on page 11, if the commission were so inclined, which would allow redevelopment of the site for a more sensible building layout on these lots and moving the lot line over to the left, so you have two symmetrical lots instead of one wide lot and one kind of crazy small lot, while preserving some aspects. And that would certainly be better than obviously having a demo delay run and nothing preserved if the MOA process were not to yield anything, and we don't know what that process will be like unless we undergo it. The lots, as you can see here, 34, 35 are narrower than the other lots on the street, and it's got the joined building here that these other lots do not have on the street with the lot line going down it. So nothing here, we've said before, nothing here about historic people or events, and the building isn't a famous architect or architecturally significant in the fact that it's not some, unique colonial building that is irreplaceable. So I guess in the interest of not repeating myself, unless you don't remember things that I can fill you in with from last time, in sum, I would just state that the applicant asked that the commission find the property not preferably preserved, either with or without conditions, as it is been significantly and asymmetrically altered. The street has no pattern, and even if it did, this house is wedged in sideways on narrow lots and doesn't fit. And being able to double the number of units here to create housing that's badly needed would be a plus. The idea was to have 2-3 families with a backyard cottage in the back of each, and the backyard cottage would have a gable look, so we could, echo the gables on the street. We don't really have one. Calling it gables probably a bit much, considering that the side of the building really that's facing the street. But so that's the plan. If you had any questions or wanted more detail, I guess I could provide it, but I don't want to belabor the point at this hour.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak about this case? If you would like to do that, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Any members of the public who are not part of the applicant team have any public comments? I see no hands, Mr. Chairman. You can close the public hearing if you'd like.
All right, I'll do that. We'll close the public comment portion of this hearing and toss this out to the commission. What do you all think?
I agree with Attorney Dash that the immediate neighborhood is a mix of vintages and styles and such, but the basic architectural form of this property is still intact in spite of the New England Brickmaster envelope, the deep overhang, the window bays, all of that is very evocative of the time and place that the building was built. And it would be I feel not great about seeing that torn down. Without some way to preserve some of those aspects. And I don't know that's doesn't sound like that's in the builder's plans.
Thank you, Robin.
I could say, as I said, if it were appropriate, Mr. Chair, I could.
Sure.
I do have some. I can show you at least what the idea is for the backyard cottage piece. And I know it's not the main building, but the backyard cottage piece at least would, and these would be, in the back behind the 3-family on each of the lots. This would be the backyard cottage look, which we are trying to, mimic a bit what you're seeing or what was there, along with the other conditions that are in the staff report for not preferably preserved, if that helps. I understand it's not the main structure, which
Yeah.
would be more of which would be a 3-family, more triple decker kind of thing. But this is sort of that. I mean, the main house would be like a standard triple decker kind of thing, and then you have that in the back. So they are Somerville building types. It is a mishmash on the street anyway. This would be next to a 5-unit multiplex, and 2 units and 6 units and all the other single family and all the other stuff on the street. So we don't feel like this is grossly out of place, because I don't think you can be out of place on that block. But this is having this in as part of the development, that helps. Just give you an idea of what we were thinking. I don't have the level of plans that the other people had, but we do have something.
Yeah.
It'd be nice just outside of this if people, when they do new triple deckers, would add a little bit more detail than they often do for new.
Detail costs money.
Yeah, I know.
And
They'll be
these
making
aren't,
money.
well, and these aren't construction drawings. They're just
Yeah, no, I'm just like, you triggered a little gripe of have had, like, why didn't they just stick $5,000 into some moldings? But
well, that
anyway,
could be a discussion of if we could, I could have with them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's the idea. But in order to do anything in this lot, like I said, we have to move the lot line. And in order to move the lot line, the current building has to come down. I don't know. It's really kind of a situation where I can't. I know last time you said, well, could you convert the existing building? I can't. I got to move. The party wall goes down the middle of that line that's got to move. I can't do that.
And the lots can't merge. They can't be merged.
If I did that, then we could only do a maximum of the 4 units on the lot, because you can't have 2 principal structures on one lot. So I need to move the lot line over, because that one lot's only 30 feet wide, and that's too narrow to build anything on. It's grandfathered today, but it's too small to build anything on. So I have to move the lot line at least 4 feet to the left, but I can't, because what the existing building is, the party wall is where that is. So it's just I don't know what else to do. I can't really do much, because I've got a weird physical layout here that we're just kind of in a tough place is all. That's why I was saying, the photographs, the drawings, preserving items, the things that are in the staff report on page 11, the client's fine with. He's not tearing it down for the sake of tearing it down. He's tearing it down because there's just, this lot just doesn't work otherwise. So.
all right. Who else has thoughts? DJ or Dick?
Yeah, I'm not super attached to the structure in and of itself. Overwhelming. I mean, I think that even looking back at the very old Sandmore maps and stuff, the historical character of Oak Street was always this sort of funky mishmash of sizes and types and everything else. It was, I don't know. So in that sense, the funkiness is the rhythm, but on the other hand, as Attorney Dash says, something different that's funky in the rhythm isn't in and of itself out of character in any way necessarily. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one in terms of preferably preserved personally. Like I'm not strongly attached to it. Like it definitely met the level of significance, but
Okay. How about you, Dick? What do you think?
No, I'm thinking that there's too much there to not say that it's perfectly preserved.
I'm sorry for staff's benefit. Could you repeat that, Mr. Bauer? I got a little
Sure,
lost in
sorry,
here
I think
in the negatives versus the positives.
yeah, was that 3 double negatives or 4?
I
I think
lost count.
I did too. So I think my conclusion is that it's perfectly preserved. That
Thank you.
There's too much there to lose.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have to say, just to surprisingly, I'm not actually there with this one. I was been on sort of on the fence, but I'm sort of leaning towards it not. To me, the only thing that's really distinct about it is that it has these side entrances, which is kind of uncommon. But otherwise, it's not really. I mean, yes, compared to something that might replace it, it is more sympathetic to the neighborhood. But in itself, as it exists now, I don't think it is part of something that warrants that. I don't know. I'm sort of more inclined to say no on it. My claim. It's interesting to have one like this where some difference of opinions.
Yeah. Keeps us from getting bored, right?
Yeah.
We bring you the interesting ones.
If we were allowed to talk about these outside, this would give us something to argue about in the future, but we're not, and we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's not. Attorney Dash just made a good point of that it's sort of a hodgepodge. Yes, there is a building next to it that has 2 bays, but it's a very different kind of math in a way. It's wider. And
yeah.
Front entrances and stuff like that. So it's not really bowling that way. It is a nice, it's a comfortable building. Originally, it has a presence to it, but it's not precious. It's been modified with the siding in the front, the fake stone. So I just sort of taken as a whole, I kind of lean that way more, not majorly, but if I had to flip a coin, I'd flip it that way. So I don't know. You could just go to a vote, I suppose, and see how it goes, or anybody have any other input?
If you'll entertain a motion, Mr. Chairman, I would vote that the commission, I would move that the commission take a vote on whether to find the building at 15 Oak Street, I assume is the one we're doing first, preferably preserved. So a yes vote would be that it is, and a no vote would be that it is not, because no one's proposed any particular conditions of things that we would want to add, so.
What happens if we split on this?
Well, if it's
One side is preferably preserved and the other is not.
Right. Oh, right.
that
Well,
would
that would be
weird.
I think that would happen with the city solicitor. This happened on one of my prior cases a few months ago where you only had 4 people and you split 2-2, and they said you needed a majority vote to find it preferably preserved. So the motion failed if it was 2-2.
Yeah.
I
No,
think the question was
I
what
was
if we voted
thinking-
on
if you
one
vote
way
each
on
half?
15 and the other on 17?
I guess we tear one down now and one in 18.
That would be an
I don't
interesting.
know.
Or you could keep one half and do a triple. Oh, that would be a very Somerville project there, and have like a triple decker that's fused to a
We still
half
have
of
to
it.
move the lot line so it doesn't.
Talk about funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we seem to have the beginning of a motion by Mr. Shagdon here. I think.
For 15.
For 15.
Do I have a second?
Well, you have to vote. So you can second, it's okay.
I'll
yeah.
second
Okay.
that. Yes.
All right, we have Mr. Shagdon's motion, and all in favor of so a positive vote is to declare preferably preserved. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and all opposed, and I'll say no. So do a roll call. Mr. Bauer?
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon?
I was on the fence, so I was going to abstain. So I think that's where I am.
Can you?
Oh, you jerk.
Was that what you were going to do?
Um,
Okay, then
oh,
you.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was throwing you
no,
under.
no. You're well within your right to do
Does he
that.
have enough votes though if he does?
What happens if we have a quorum, but we don't have a quorum full of votes? How does that work?
It's still a quorum.
Okay,
Still a quorum to vote.
all right.
Oh my goodness.
Feel like we need the Wheel of Fortune music in the background,
I know.
or
I'm gonna
the
say
Jeopardy music.
no.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say no too, so I'll join you in angst.
Yeah.
All right, so that means that at least half the building can be demolished subsequent to the findings.
All right. Can we do
and-
findings after we've done both votes and use the same findings for both as what?
You
Okay.
can, yes. I mean, and just make you would state that the findings apply to both properties.
Then I move that we take a vote on whether to find 17 Oak Street preferably preserved.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? No.
No.
Roll call, Mr. Bauer.
Yes, although I wonder if that means that I'm saying preserve the half that we haven't already decided could be turned on.
Well,
Mr. Shagnon?
in light of 15, I will vote no here.
Okay. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
The dark side. Vice Chair Kelly?
I kind of want to abstain just to keep the two halves parallel in a weird way. But no, I'll vote no.
Okay, and I'll vote no. And findings then would include some reference to it. It doesn't contribute to the streetscape through, how we usually phrase that, pattern. Not importantly associated with an architectural style or person. It doesn't retain sufficient integrity, I guess. Though that wasn't really discussed here. Am I missing anything?
No, I think those are the things.
Okay. So all in favor of adopting those findings? No, we need a motion to adopt those findings.
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Okay.
I move.
I'll let
Yeah, so
Robin.
moved on both. This is for both 15 and 17.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Mr. Bauer, then we'll do a roll call. Mr. Bauer?
I abstain.
Mr. Shagnon?
Yes on the finding.
Vice Chair Kelly? And I'll say yes. So
Okay.
there you have it, Attorney Dash. Are we
Thank
not
you.
the oddest commission that you work with in your line of work?
I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah, right.
I work with a lot of groups.
Yeah.
Nobody, I guess nobody can, throw things because we're remote, right? So that puts you a leg up on some meetings I've been at.
Well, demolitions are tricky because there's just so many little variables and quirks, and in a sense, every situation is unique. And
Well, that's why I appreciate you giving the time like you do to this late hour, to all the ones, not just this, but to all the ones you've heard, and you go into great detail, and the staff reports are very helpful. I used to do historical research back in the day before I filed these. I don't even bother anymore because the staff reports are so detailed. It's better than anything I'd ever come up with. So
You gonna start subsidizing the department now for all the work we do for you?
you don't have a filing fee. That's not on me. But
I know. We're gonna have to. We're actually thinking about instituting one. Just be aware. So
wouldn't surprise me, but that's okay.
yeah. Although I have to say that the work that the staff has to put into it is certainly meritorious of having an application fee. Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with you that the staff reports are excellent, and regardless of what happens, there's a record of the history of a lot of properties now in great detail.
Correct.
If anyone wanted to do research on their property, whether the building's still there or not, the reports exist. So that's important in and of itself.
Yeah. Agree.
Well,
Hey.
thanks for coming to us.
No, always good to see you. Have a good time.
I'll see you.
Thank
See
you.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
I would actually like to, this ties into other discussions, but these staff reports, we have vast quantity of them. It'd be interesting to see them published somehow, or like, not the whole thing, but just the guts of them.
The interesting ones.
It would be, and to your point, Mr. Chairman, I mean, they are online, so one could argue they're published that way, but I understand, but I think you mean more like compiled in terms of like, hey, this section of the city or these properties on the
Yeah.
street, et cetera, et cetera. And then it would be interesting the threads that you could pull and tie together that end up linking these seemingly disparate properties together because they've come up at different times over the course of the years, and see how somehow they're actually all linked together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when I asked Christy when she left what her plans were, and she said that she had this idea of, from all of the staff report preparations, of creating sort of like historical fiction based on the owners, which I thought was kind of a really cool project. I don't know if she's ever gone anywhere with that.
No.
Because it does kind of lead you to want to do that sometimes, of like, okay, let's just imagine if the daughter of 15 Oak Street met, the son of
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sergeant Ave, and started a paint store. But
I don't think she's
Fist fight
pursued
between
anything
the
of that, but yeah.
Undertakers.
yeah. And on the demolitions, I always feel like, I think in a way the ends are justifying the means, but we sort of created a new precedent tonight by attaching conditions to a significance hearing.
See that, yeah, that's not something that I don't think we've ever done before, and I would not call it a precedent. I would call it a one-off.
Yeah.
Honestly, because the only way that, like, we can't force an applicant to do like signage or something like that, but if we bring it up to them and say, like, do you offer to do this? And they say, yes, I think that's great, I offer to do that, then that's fine, we can do that. It might be something to look at in the future, to have an option of like not historically significant with conditions. That seems a little tougher though, because it's kind of like it either is or it either isn't, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I understand why it's in the preferably preserve component. I think that, is there, by the way, I just want to say, Lexi, you do not have to stay. You could go. Everybody else is gone. I'll handle the rest of everything.
All right. Well, good night, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Thanks. I think that, is there a scenario where you consider, is the architecture always the overriding factor for significance? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Or do some of those, or is that social history, which is also one of several components that are not architecture, also big qualifiers for something to be historically significant? Because if it's just architecture, then we've lost all the other stuff that we, quite frankly, spend all of our time looking at and documenting to kind of bolster your argument for a property being historically significant in its total. So something to think about.
Yeah, just as
Go
this
ahead.
evolves, it feels like we're really pushing up against weird limitations, and acknowledging certain things that, maybe not futile isn't quite the word, but like, why make someone go through a whole MOA process and record something when it's something as simple as that? Like, do we want to add to our massive list of someday projects something that sort of wraps all this up into a very concise set of guidelines that gives us these various options and a more establishment?
It's a weird one because, in the absence of that agreement, what would we have done? It's hard to know for sure. I mean, it's sort of like the only thing that property had was the social history significance to me, but it was pretty significant significance.
Right.
To me, it felt as though if we hadn't had that option, I would have wanted to find it historically significant not preferably preserved with conditions
Yeah.
and going through that. But that requires that the applicant sort of hang on and wait. And, you know, if we feel like that's the conclusion we're going to come to anyway, it's helpful to be able to speed things along, because
That's
all
right.
of this is just too cumbersome. It adds, you know, sort of more time and stuff for staff to do. It adds more time and stuff for the applicant. It's just unnecessary delays, it feels like.
Right. So yeah, no, I hear you. I'm with you on that. And I've noticed too that some applicants are starting to pick up on some of the things that they hear you guys say, that something is or isn't contributing to the streetscape. Oh, and sometimes they take that in a positive or negative way, right? Often the negative way, like there's so many other ones just like this on the street that this is just one that's not there. And then they also hear you say like, oh, the streetscape is really important. So then what was pulled out of this, like, Oak Street example was that, look, this streetscape isn't consistent. So everything's all over the place. So why does it matter if this is just one of many different houses? So they're starting to pick up on these things and then using these as that argumentation. And I'm not sure either one is consistently, it's great, it contributes to the streetscape, but it's also, does it contribute to the streetscape because it's different?
Yeah.
There's that too, right?
I remember a case years ago where it was this totally quirky one-off building on, like, I don't remember the name of the street now, it's been long gone, but it's like, so I voted it for the opposite reason, because it's like the only one like that.
The only one left. Yeah.
It was
well, that's
yeah.
it's significance on its own merits though too.
Yeah. It wasn't a great representation of a style, but it's just like, where did that building come from and why is it there? And yeah.
Okay. Well, it being 9:50, do we have a
Yeah.
CPC, do we have other items on the agenda?
Just the CPC update, which is we have our meeting tomorrow, and it's the annual presentation of projects by people who are applying for money for next year. So anybody who wants to spend another 3 hours watching stuff, come on over. And we don't have any minutes to review, so I think that's it.
Awesome.
I move that we vote to adjourn.
Okay.
Second that.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? And do our roll call, Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there we are. It's not 10 yet. We've done much worse than this.
Yeah.
I just told Lexi my
Oh.
very first meeting with you guys. Robin, you weren't on the commission yet. Went until 12:30 in the morning, and then I had to drive an hour home afterwards. So
Oh.
bless you for it being before 10 o'clock.
Was that while we were meeting in the VNA?
Yeah.
Yeah. It could have been worse. It could have been one of the ones that went till 11:30 or 12 in the third floor of City Hall with no air conditioning in the summer.
That's funny. That was my summer this summer at City
Oh,
Hall.
yeah.
And then we didn't have the boiler working until this weekend. And so first we were roasting because there was no AC. And some people came in, but most of us work from home. And then it was freezing because the boiler didn't work. And then they turned the boiler on over the weekend. And so now we're roasting again. So just like turn us over on a spit. We'll be done eventually.
Right. On average, you were quite comfortable.
On average, we're quite comfortable. Yeah, exactly.
Sarah,
Nice.
are you all part of the crowd that's getting booted out to the tab?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
Out to the where? What is
The
this?
tab, it's the Tufts Administration Building. It's 167 Holland Street. And so, yeah, we're getting booted out to the tab, although I think it's been really more of a request
Yeah.
by our
not
executive
really
director at the beginning.
booting, but
Move there, but
Sent.
yeah, so but we're still not entirely sure if all of us will fit there, if there'll be desk space for all of us, or for we'll still have to do this hoteling thing that we do now. So yeah. But go by City Hall, because like before you get to before the entire building appears as you go up School Street and Highland Avenue, you can see the new roof and the new cupola and all the work that you guys approved is all done. And then stop looking at it once you see the rest of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right.
such
Well,
as
we've adjourned. Have a
lovely to
lovely
see you all.
lovely
It's been a
weekend.
while since I've had to take over, so
Yeah.
nice to see you.
Madison,
See everyone in a month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye,
Have a good night.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Betcha. Bye-bye.
Bye.